Yo, what's going on, Fortnite fam? Welcome back to the Fortnite Champion Series. It is time. This is week number 2, aka Qualifier 2. You know we back on that battle bus, and you're here with us, which means we're gonna have a great time. You know who else is here to have a great time? That's right, it's Reese and it's Levin. My friends, it is time. Qualifier 2, one last shot to make it in the top 5.
Look, Zeke, you know, sometimes, things aren't going the way you want in life, but you have the FNCS, and the FNCS makes everything better. And I'm glad we have Qualifier 2 here to distract me from the other worries of life, and I can focus on the top level Fortnite that we are about to see right now.
Yeah, we saw 5 teams yesterday, or sorry, last week in Qualifier 1 go through. We have 5 teams today. So far, 0 have managed to actually go through into the back of the net right now. So we're hoping, fingers crossed, that it's going to be a good 6 games overall.
You know, I feel like Europe is very hard to do anything but provide us with quality content, high-level gameplay, and some of the most hype we've ever seen in a Fortnite gameplay. But we'll get into that in just a minute. We have about 20 minutes before we jump aboard the battle bus. So for now, let's talk about a few things like the actual show flow. This is Europe. In case you're new here, what's going on? It's great to have you. This is Fortnite. We'll be explaining and breaking down a bunch of stuff for you. If you like what you're seeing, we also have NA East, where we'll be jumping into another 6 games for a different region. We'll do the same thing in NA West. So a lot of games on deck today. So come back. If you like what you're seeing, there'll be plenty of Fortnite throughout the day. Let's talk about the actual tournament format. So once again, for you new faces that have never been here before, don't be frightened. It's all good. This is a very simple graphic. Next week, starting Thursday, semifinals kick off. Saturday, finals begin. And that will be some of the most insane Fortnite you'll ever watch, but also semifinals day 2 Friday. You definitely want to be here for that. It's going to be hype. But for now, focus your attention on qualifier number 2, because that's where we're at.
Yes, we are here at Qualifier 2. Typically, there's 3 qualifiers, but this season, it's just the 2. So in Qualifier 2, players are going to be competing for that top 5. That auto qualifies you for the finals, which isn't far away, guys, so pay attention to that. But the players who are competing in round 4 today, they've played through 3 rounds. They were the top 33 teams in round 3, and now they will be playing for that top 5. But if they don't get the top 5, there is still plenty to play for, right? Because we have a series point leaderboard, and at the end of Qualifier 2 today, the top 66 on that leaderboard will advance to the semifinals, which again is not very far away.
It's not at all. It's on Thursday, but let's be real, right? Top 66 is great, obviously, because they need to get consistency points, but everyone here is going to be looking for that top 5, and this is the format that they're going to be doing that with. If you see the bottom, eliminations worth 2 points each, and once you get to that top threshold of 24 placement points, you're going to get yourself 5 points. And then every time you get to top 17, and every threshold up from that, you're going to gain more and more points up to the victory royale, which will get you a lovely 30.
That's right. And of course, we can't forget in finals. That's once again starting Saturday. We'll be seeing prize money given out on the line for all of these regions. Once again, Fortnite is a global competition. We have 7 different regions going head to head. And now we can actually check in with 2 of those regions, Asia, OCE. We can use them as kind of a metric to see how their results were, potentially use that to extrapolate data on our side here in Europe. Let's take a look at this. We pulled some awesome clips, and one of the we're going to take a look at the top 5 teams as well. We're kicking things off. We got Raru, we got Ustia, and I believe, if I remember 11, that name translates to I am the most compelling.
Compelling, indeed. Very compelling. Look, I'm always interested to see what happens in some of the other regions, right? Reese, you always use it as like a snapshot. Oh, this could happen today on the EU. But no, honestly, Asia was great. We had some great teams. Obviously, UC's team that that Zeke just mentioned, they were the actual winners and topped the day with 179 points. A victory hour as well. Incredibly consistent. A lot of the teams in the top 5 are really consistent in Asia.
Yeah, they were. And what's interesting about UC's team in particular is the fact that in the previous week, they came 6th, and they only managed just to lose out of qualification by a single point, by 1 single point. So today, coming back, placing 1st, like, there's no doubt for them that they're a top team, actually just going into the finals overall. You can see them there up in number 1 spot. Compelling. There you go. Zeke got it absolutely right. Number 1. So they've managed to go through, and obviously a lot of the other big names like Riddle Bob from the, I think season 4, chapter 2, season 4, FNCS winner, alongside Rizard. If you follow the region, you'll definitely recognize that name.
Yeah, of course, right? It's interesting, right? A team who came 6th, which was 1 away last week. does get the first place this time. Can that happen to our 6th place team from last week on EU as well? We will see. Let's take a look at OCE though, because there's plenty more that went on there as well. And I was really happy to see some of the teams who were able to call through. Of course, you can see our winners, Vortex, Tayson, and Jace here. The twins though are the ones that really intrigued me, Reese Hub. The twins, the X2 twins, they were able to qualify through on a tiebreaker nonetheless. Barely, right? You know, when it's a tiebreaker, you know it's close. But a tiebreaker on a limbs was really, really intense, but they were able to make it through. So congrats to the twins there.
Yeah, they're not necessarily a team that's known for just fragging out so much as well. So the fact that they got more eliminations on that tiebreaker was absolutely, obviously they played fantastically on the day-to-day, but really, really important is the team that won, right? The team that we just saw, Vortex's team there, is actually the reigning FNCS champions. They didn't end up playing Qualifier 1 because obviously they've auto-qualled. They decided to disband this week and say, you know what, we're just going to play Qualifier 2. We'll just give ourselves a little bit of a chance. And you know what? They came back and absolutely dominated anyway. Yeah, extra practice.
It never hurts, right? You can see Vortex, Jason, Tayson sitting there in first place. They were the only team to have 2 I can't speak English, double-digit elimination games. And look, they had a bit of a slow start, but they were able to pick things up. You can see there as well, Queeks, Kunai Mountain in second. Is it Kunai season? Who knows? But nevertheless, what a day for OCE, really. I'm sure they're going to be excited to be able to make it straight through the finals, because semi-finals is going to get hectic, I can tell you that much.
Yeah, and what's interesting from both Asia and OCE is a lot of the teams that ended up qualifying, outside of basically one in each single region, were roughly around 10th till 20th in Qualifier 1. So a lot of them did qualify through. They had like a kind of mediocre performance. Now that maybe some of their other big teams have left in the kind of, because they've obviously qualified through now, they've kind of taken that opportunity and managed to do well. So maybe basically the same thing today on EU.
We'll have to see, but really quickly, let's do a recap of what we saw last week, because I like this conversation of these trios that have pushed through. That means we're not seeing them today. So this could really mean that some of these trios that were kind of going head-to-head or potentially had to rotate through a POI contested by one of these powerhouse teams, it can now act a little bit more freely.
Yeah, and of course, look, you can see Zeku's team here, Reese, a trio that I'm sure you very much would like to talk about. They were able to qualify through just barely on a tiebreaker against Tayson's team. They had 34 eliminations. Tayson's team had 31, and so they just snuck their way in, and I'm sure they'll be glad about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And for Juriki's team here is a team that was definitely like a newer form team right before, and that was their first time playing together, and they managed to do really well. A very, very good team. We've got a lot of teams who are kind of similar to that this season, so it's good to see that they can succeed. Similar to Benji, Andrea, and Mr. Savage, obviously they switched up their team a little bit, putting Benji on this team who dominated. Now that they've qualified through, that leaves Steamy Stacks uncontested, and you know, there's 2 teams looking to land there right now. We've got Rescard, Trulix, and Hen, and also Malabuka, Mustache, and Shizo at the same time, so we're definitely going to be seeing some fights there, unless potentially Rescard's team's dips from that drop spot, which I highly doubt is going to happen.
Yeah, look, a lot of these teams were the powerhouses, right? And the Lexus B-Sports, you know, these guys were the powerhouses last week. And a good thing about, you know, the sort of shortening between time of the rounds means, you know, these guys are hot now. They don't have to wait a month's time to play the finals, you know what I mean? Like they get to really jump back into the fray of things in a couple of days' time. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how these guys do. I'm looking forward to seeing how these teams who are playing today will learn from them, right? Pardon me. Plenty to learn from these top teams. Of course, Queasy, Thomas, and that's, I think, the biggest one, right? A high ground team, a team who stopped some of our other high ground teams from having any sort of a decent week last time. And so how will teams now adapt now that these guys aren't here? What will teams learn from them now that they're not here?
Yeah, especially guys like Aqua were really, really put down by Queasy's team last week. Like a lot, because we saw like Aqua's team ended up, I think it was 4 games they went down first moving, and they won at 1 game and ended up going down to Storm Surge another. So it's like, go for height or it doesn't work. And it was usually like Queasy's team who's the one that made it not work for them. So with them not being in the lobby anymore, you have Aqua's team who's back again, who could potentially definitely do a little bit better.
You know, Shio is an Aqua stan, or as he would say, a fast strokey stan. We'll check in with him in just a little bit. But first, let's take a look at the lobby list. Which 33 trios are we watching in today's game? 9 returning trios from Qualifier 1, round number 4. I mean, we've got a lot of names here that are worth mentioning, but one there right at the top of the screen, Levin, Floki, Clement, Desyptos, a trio that didn't even make it in Qualifier 1. So they're coming in now, and they have to perform well if they want to make it into semifinals.
Yeah, look, this is a team who we're going to spend more time talking about just because of how well they did in Qualifier 3. But, you know, just to talk briefly about them, they've been together so long. We know what they are at their best, and they showed that to us yesterday. Let's just hope we can see it again today.
fingers crossed, honestly. And, you know, Vidil, Janice, and Noah, the team in third right there, is the team that we didn't see good from at all, really, so far in that previous qualifier one. And now we hopefully have a good opportunity to see them do super, super well. Again, with Astroki CR Aqua, what we talked about as well. And right at the bottom, Joe, Mongol, and Vino. This is an opportunity for Mongol in particular to make his first finals of the season if they manage to get a top 5 today. And obviously, even if they don't, they get series points, which can give them opportunities in the semifinals as well. But this is high potential for them.
Yeah, let's take a look at that next page, page 2. Let's see some of the other names competing. Some formidable names, to say the least. When you look at this page, of course, you know, when you're talking about fanboys, I'm a Tayson fanboy. Tayson, Chapix, and Reason, of course, on this page, they're going to be competing today. Another person I'm a big fan of is Bloomy, and he's playing with Shadow and Tomsy as well. So I'm excited to see how these guys do today.
I knew as soon as that page switched over, I was like, which names are we going to talk about? And I see Tayson just pop out, and I was like, Levin's going to go for it straight away. I know it. And for good reason, obviously. But if you check over to that final page, we'll see which teams I end up talking about right here. Hen, Rescard, Trulex right at the second from top there, alongside Snazy Sky and Nate. Another team which we'll definitely talk about a little bit later that, you know, hasn't performed so well in that first qualifier and the Cash Cup this season so far, but yeah, I think has a big potential to do well. Not personally put them in my top 5 yet, but I actually genuinely think they have a good potential to win overall.
Oh, you know it. Reese Hub, he's a Nate hater. You hate to see it. You know, he's a
political.
I'm a Tayson fan. Yeah, very, very political. Look,
hold on. I will have none of this slander because
give it to me. Go on.
Going back to Chapter 2, Season 4, Season 5. You weren't here, Season 4. You didn't know. You didn't know when I was talking about them, hyping them up so much.
I was in the streets, Reese. I was in the streets. I was getting into the mix. You know, I was really in the mix. You know what I mean? Look.
No. I was hyping them up so much. Same within Season 5 as well. And then in Season 6, the performance started to go down a little bit from them. So, like, I've lost a little bit of confidence in that team. Absolutely. Like, I have. Obviously, there's been some switch-ups in the player base, but I want them to succeed. And if I see a really good performance from them, I'm thinking, yes, because they have such a good potential. And they, in particular, is an incredible player. If you watch him at the back of the tarp, he pops off. So I want to see them succeed. It's just like the trends I've seen the last couple seasons necessarily haven't been that way.
Let's hope they make you eat your words.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. 100%. I'll be wrong, happily.
Guys, about 12 minutes before we jump on the battle bus, now we have to turn to my favorite part of the show. It's when we get to draw on the map, talk about trios, interesting things we prepare for the day. I think one of the biggest things that has kind of my attention right now is the convergence, this new kind of anomaly happening in the center of the map. Some people have dubbed it Cube Town. But Reese, you have made a video on your YouTube. So Fortnite fam, if you guys like Reese Hub, check out this content because it's dope. But break down why the convergence could be important, what we could expect to see out of it today.
So firstly, it's mid-map, right? Let's be real. If something's mid-map, it's always going to be really important because if you think any first zone, let's see if I can draw this properly, right? Any first zone that you get is basically going to be in it, right? So whenever you're in a center map position, right, you can obviously see like the trends between all those. It's convergence is basically the only place that's still in it, regardless of where that goes. So it's always a good position on the map. But now what becomes interesting is, well, how are you going to go there? Are you going to drop there? Well, if you actually start playing around in there, you'll realize that there's zero materials, basically, right? You can't harvest any of the walls, and basically all the mats you're going to get are from floor spawns and from chests. So it's not ideal if you're going to see then a Boney team pushes in who've harvested a ton. They're going to be at a huge advantage, despite the fact that there's a ton of loot in the convergence. They're going to have nothing to fight against. You know, Fortnite is a game that definitely relies on having a lot of materials, and if you've got absolutely none in the convergence, it might not be the place just straight to land. So what I'm interested in seeing is how teams are going to play around that, right? So my guess and what I've been thinking so far is teams are either going to split risky, and then maybe have 2 players there, someone in the convergence, maybe 2 people land there, or all 3, and then they all push in if they have materials, or they're going to land on that east side over here and push all the way in at the same time as well after they've got good materials. But they still have to be really careful. The Boney Burbs team can move in. Team from the mid-map hills can push in. Even if they've not got risky, they can all push in. But if they manage to get in it later, hopefully get enough materials beforehand, they have such a good amount of loot. I think there's 174 floor spawns and 23 chests, which is an incredibly large amount. So if they manage to get hold of all that loot after they get their materials, they could be in for a good time.
Yeah, look, convergence, cube town, whatever you want to call it, right? You know, I'm gonna move away from it, right? You know, we'll move away from that one. I do want to talk about Believer Beach because there is a man, or three men, I guess, the trio that lands there, who are a very good trio, but didn't do too good, right? Janice, Vidil, and O'Reilly, they played last week. They weren't able to do as well as they would have wanted to. Of course, Mitra contesting and all these things are factors as well. But in particular, Janice did talk about, I think it was on Twitter, he talked about how he very much was getting frustrated with some of the third partying that was going on. And typically when you hear Believers Beach, you don't associate it with, you know, people third partying it. You associate Believer Beach teams third partying other places. But they were getting contested and third partied by teams landing in these newer dish areas, right, that we've talked about so much already. And so it's going to be interesting to see now how this plays out because Reese, like you've so noticed, there is actually two teams landing there this week, which means there's actually an opportunity for Janice now to contest it instead of being contested by the players who are landing there.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference between more open tournaments, like the earlier rounds, round 1, 2, and 3, rather than a set lobby, right? Like round 4. So in those earlier rounds, you don't know who's going to land on you, who's going to contest you. And a POI like Believers Beach, in those earlier rounds, is way more likely to be contested, right? Just random teams land in there, so you're going to have a difficult time. And when places are contested, usually teams will rotate in, right? So from these spots, they know that fight is contested, so they push in third party. Easy eliminations for them. So if you're Janice's team and you're landing Believers Beach, you're sitting there going, why are these people rotating into me every game, right? It's getting really annoying. You get frustrated, but they manage to make it here regardless. Now that this is a set lobby, they have this all to themselves, right? No one in this lobby, now that they know they're there, is going to fight them. They're not going to do it. Believers Beach is like the spot that they've claimed, unless obviously your Mitra's team last week. But, you know, this week, no one's going to do that at this point. But that spot down below is actually double contested, it seems like. So it seems like there's two players here, which now kind of flips the tables. Because now, rather than being like, man, all these people are just pushing into us from this spot down there, they can just push them and they get easy tags. So they've just completely flipped up. So if I'm expecting to see some tweets today from Janice being like, man, I love this new addition to the map, right? Below Beavers Beach.
well, look, the difficult question is now, do they have a good result? Now, look, we got more to talk about. And so, you know, we're going to work in tandem on this one, Reese. So, of course, we already mentioned the top 5 teams from last week and how they will impact this lobby. Let's talk about the actual spots, the POIs that are now vacant, per se, right? Where these top teams aren't necessarily landing there. What is going on at them? Because I think, you know, we talk about having blueprints, right? Being able to say, okay, this team landed there last week. This is what they did and it worked. Can we do that? But of course, now in some places, there's a bit of a power struggle. Multiple teams trying to land there. You know, do you get the same fortune that some of these teams got last week? It remains to be seen. A couple of the places I'm very, very intrigued by, of course, Steamy Stats is one. We saw Benji's team do incredibly well there. They contested, or they weren't contested, sorry, and they did incredibly well. It does seem like they will be contested this time, Reese.
It does. Like I said earlier, it seems like there's going to be a double contestation there. It looks like we've got Refsguard, Trulex, and Hen going against Malibu, Cumber, Stash, and Shizo. And we all know that realistically, like one of these teams may qual through the finals. If it's Refsguard's team, chances are they're not going to land there in the finals. But we all know if Malibu, Cumber, Stash, and Shizo get a top 5, they qualify through the finals. Like that's going to be a fight for Steamy in there against Benji's team right now. So like, there's definitely going to be a lot going on. It's very important to watch the Steamy fights today.
Yeah, another one that I think is important to talk about is Catty Corner. It's not contested, but we got Nate, Snazy, and Sky who are landing there. And that's sort of another example of a team who very much has a blueprint. Obviously, Queasy, Thomas, and Anna, qualified first place last week, landing at Catty Corner. This time round, Nate, they've got the mythical org. They've got everything in their arsenal to be able to go out there and do incredibly well today. And I know, you know, you talked about the doubts you sort of have, Reese. But look, everything is set up well for them. They should know how to deal with Surge. I think this should be the time, right?
Fingers crossed, but I actually think another more important part is the fact that obviously we kind of hinted to earlier as well, is the fact that Queasy team's out. That leaves the Boney Burbs team, which is Aqua's team, like free reign of high ground. Obviously not free reign, because there's a lot of other teams that look to play height as well, like obviously Janice's team and things like that, but like way freer height, because they're not the force stopping them as such.
Yeah, and I think the last sort of big one really would be Misty Meadows per se, right?
Let's clear all this off just so I can highlight it all alone.
The Misty Meadows team, they did phenomenally last week, but they also smashed round 3, right? Floki, Clement, and Deceptos were spectacular. And of course, last time round, it was Andalex's trio that was going there. But this time, we have just, you know, Floki, Clement, and Deceptos, who were brilliant. We got a spotlight here for you as well. Look, some of these are mad, right? So if you look at round 3, yesterday time, they had 88 eliminations. They got top 5 in 6 out of their games. It was phenomenal. And the one big thing about this trio is that everyone always talks about is how long they've been playing together, right? 37 events as a trio is not common anymore.
No, I think the only team on EU to beat that is C2S8 potentially. I mean, I was thinking about just lying and saying that it was the most, so it sounds really good, but no, it's not. You know, they're one of the teams who's been together for absolutely the longest on EU in particular, because we all know what EU's like, right? All the teams just change up left, right, and center who they have with them. So for that point, like for them to be together that long is probably a secret to their success. And one of the other things is that they play an endgame playstyle like most teams don't. They play that low to mid ground playstyle, which I mean, if you know, think over to NA East, you got the Sentids team that does that over there. And here, you know, when you think about EU, there's not that many teams who manage to do that successfully. You have like Savage's team who does that quite a lot, but like they're not so focused on it like some of the other low ground teams is. With Loki, Clement, and Deceptos, like they have for a lot of the last few seasons been really, really good on the low ground, and particularly in picking up tons of eliminations. And if you look at yesterday's games, they had every single game they got to end game, which was those 6 games, like you mentioned, they got double-digit eliminations. So it's like they're getting down in the low ground and they are fragging out. Now with them being uncontested and Misty having what seems to be like 900 chests all to themselves since they have the corrupted zone as well, it's like you've seen their early and mid games probably going to be really good too. If you get them into end game, put them in a good position, clearly they can perform. So like, what more can we say?
And you know, the big thing is when I've watched these guys, that really impresses me, they look like they're having so much fun together, right? If you watch their streams, if they were streaming their games, which was always great to watch when the team does so well, but they just look like they enjoy playing with each other. And typically with teams that play together this long, you start to get sick of each other, even if you're the best of friends, right? We've seen certain teams in other regions, not going to mention who, split up because they didn't want to start getting sick of each other, right, after playing for so long. So, you know, seeing these guys having fun is a joy for me. It's a joy for them. It's why they pop off in these end games. I think today could be the day where they really show that they are one of the best trios over the course of this year.
Well, 11, let's see if that's the case, because it's time to look at predictions. If you believe so wholeheartedly, did you go with them as your prediction? Oh, yes. 11, no, I can't see. Okay. But you know who did? It's Reese. So 11, we'll come back to Reese in a second. But right now, you and Clay are both standing, Tayson, Chapik, and Reason. Now, last week, we did see them come in that 6th place spot, right? They missed out on qualification by a handful of points. So I feel like for this week, as long as they can bring that same energy, that same level of play, they will probably make top 5.
Yeah, look, I said earlier, I'm a Tayson fan, and so, you know, I'm more than likely going to pick Tayson, but I genuinely do believe they're going to do well. Like you said, they have all the energy, desire that you possibly want. But last week, the first couple games, they struggled with Search, right? And then they fixed it. They were prioritizing positioning a lot better than, you know, the games after. And they were so close, right? So now I'm going to assume they're not going to have those 2 really bad games to start off with, and they're just going to roll through today's 6 games and qualify in first place. But if not first place, definitely in the top 5.
Yeah, I want to see them succeed, right? Because I really like this team composition of Tayson, Chapik, and Reason. I think it's a really good mix of teammates that they've played with in previous seasons, previous iterations. But so far this season, you know, it hasn't glued, in my opinion, yet. So hopefully we see that today, and we see like the classic Tayson performance we're used to. And let's be real, like I say this every time, but I'm going to say it again. When Reason's on the team, you expect a crazy clutch, 1 of 6 games. It's happening, right? It's going to happen. We'll see it, right? Obviously, my pick, Loki, Clement, and Deceptos. Let's be real. I think we talked enough about them. They're amazing. I think they're going to win. But for Shio, he's gone with the Strokey, CRR, and Aqua. I do think this is a really, really strong pick. And this was a team that was just formed kind of last minute before Qualifier 1. From Aqua's POV, he went into retirement, and then the Grand Royale was announced that he came out of retirement all of a sudden, and he was like, I'm back playing, baby. We're here.
I wonder why.
I wonder why, indeed. And they formed like, so this is like a last minute trio, all right? They made round 4 both weeks. And last week, like I think they were 9th last week, if my memory serves me correctly. I don't think that's true at all, but they did. I think they did something last week, regardless. This week, obviously, they made round 4 again. 16th. Well, I was nearly close, but not really. So this week, obviously, they made round 4 again, and now they're potentially have the ability to pop off. So for a last-minute trio, like this is really, really impressive.
Yeah, and I think the big thing with a lot of these trios is, of course, like we sort of mentioned earlier, you know, looking to try and play high. That is a trio that, in particular, you know, to their detriment almost, look to play height relentlessly, and it can cost you, but I think the hope is that this time you sort of roll the dice and you're rolling 6s today, and they are just straight getting high every time. That is what they will want. I think you know, looking forward at some of the other teams who I think probably could do well. Of course, I'm going to throw in a mention to Nate's team again, right? Because I just look at the setup and I think to myself, it can't go wrong. And you know, we rarely ever will sort of go, oh, how have you not managed to do well with that one? But these guys, the setup for them, I just think it's so perfect. And of course, you look at the cohesion of these guys in endgame, I think they're another team who seem to just have fun playing with each other. They are really, really proactive in endgame, looking for refreshes. And I've spoken to Sky, and he's really confident. He says he believes that they're going to be good on Surge. He believes that, you know, they will be able to sort out some of the issues that they've had, and so prove Reese Hub wrong and go out there and get that top 5.
Like I said earlier, I'm happy to be proven wrong, right?
No,
hold on. Copping out would be saying, oh, I don't think that's going to happen, right? And saying that oh, maybe you're right. No. Realistically, I think like what I'm predicting is still going to happen. But I'm happy to be wrong when I'm predicting teams that aren't going to perform that well. Let's be real.
Well, alright, fam. I hope you guys can tell we love having a great time. We're hanging out. We are great friends. And now it is time to begin the competition. Guess what, though? You saw in the predictions, Clay is hanging out with us this weekend. That's right. So we're bringing the band back together. It's Clay. It's Shy Wager. Friends, over to you.
Thank you so much, Zeke. Yes, Clay is back on the European side of things, man. How's it going?
Oh, it is so well. I am so hyped to be back here, especially casting with you.
Oh, absolutely. We have such a good qual week today. Remember, only 2 quals this whole season, so this is one of the last chances to hit top 5 for so many teams. Levin and Reese have broken down so many of the stakes here for basically a majority of the teams playing today, and the map has slightly changed, so this should be one of the most exciting qualifiers I think we've ever watched before, Clay.
There's so much pressure, and it's on so many different teams. And like Levin broke down, there are so many players that are landing in these spots that have already been qualified from. That even is more pressure on top of them, as well as we get a nice look at where Simi Stacks is going to play.
Yeah, we'll see Malabuka landing in right with Mustache right there too. The whole trio rolling by. Also trying to figure out exactly where Refscard's going. I see a few shots being fired, so the contestation is definitely hot off the rip, but we'll see Malabuka kind of driving away, trying to get that slurp truck, I believe, or anything else on this side of the map. I mean, there's so many different trios that to keep an eye on. I like the fact that Levin and Reese also brought up Snazy, Nate, Sky all the way at the back end of the desk. I mean, that should be the team that's getting first today, right, Clay? I mean, they have the spot that Queasy kind of just won from last week. It's looking all good, and there's no one contesting them.
It's set up for them. They have the path there. They just have to be able to execute on it. And I don't know if that's going to be the game plan they're used to playing.
No, definitely, because, you know, the big thing about these guys is when it comes to different types of end games or just trying to adapt to different zones, that's where struggle comes in. Sometimes that second surge is also something that they struggle with when they're moving about in their games. But we'll see what actually ends up breaking down. We can see the differences in teams right now at Steamy as well. I believe there's just maybe an NPC nearby. I see 4 arrows, but all of them are mostly the same color. So maybe Refscard moves somewhere else entirely. But we'll tune in just a second.
Seems like they did, and I'm not surprised. Refscard's, to me, never screamed a player that was very aggressive early, doesn't really want to go for that connection, really wants that late game play.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the thing is, where is he going to go? Because MXR, I believe, moved from stealthy all the way down to where Refscard was landing last week. Craggy is completely free. I mean, there's no questions here at all for taste and reason chat picks. There's a reason, right? So many people like Levin as well are predicting these guys to do really well overall. But the thing is, you know, last week they were here too. They had it uncontested. Granted, there's so many elite teams also playing there. On week number 2, these guys are on a pedestal to kind of hit that top 5.
They are, and even more so for Chapix, right? He's won out of here before. He's won it FNCS out of Craggy. I don't think I've ever seen the man land anywhere else on this map than Craggy Cliffs. So there's still a lot of knowledge that he has there, but moving Tayson and Reason over here, I think they needed that time to adjust this season because they're not Craggy teams, and it's a completely different play style. Back in the day, you would see Craggy immediately rush up to that satellite and then over to Steamy or any of those houses there. Not as much this season.
Yeah, not at all. And last week too, Kuro and Esty just kept fighting over that big hill house over and over again. There's a little bit of loot and lots of delay there, so not much surge for Tayson's team to get. Over at Corny though, things were always getting crazy. Fights that end up taking 3 different zones. You're in the basement, but this time for Krusty, for Elvis, people that we've seen here many times before, it looks like once again things are relatively free and there's no contest off spawn.
This is one of those ones that if you're going to contest it, it has to be a quick fight. right? Misty, you can kind of draw that fight out a little bit. There's some other ones as well, but Corny, you really got to do it quickly.
Yeah, Corny usually contested, not this time, where the fights actually are across the map. One of them happening just at the crash station south of Believer Beach. I believe that Freemox team might have gone down, but there were trades with Marcota at the same time. We're tuning in somewhere onto one of these crash sites. We're seeing exactly if Launch can clean things up against what looks to be skill lost the Rock. We'll see what happens if it is about drive, about power. If he's going to stay hungry and devour. Low HP inside the box right now, and Launch really has to go back.
And just a quick stat, before this fight ends up finishing, collectively the players have 179 finals appearances. That's a great amount of finals experiences, and that just shows the caliber of players that are playing today. Skillos is going to be able to pop the med kit, and with that legendary pump, that's going to give them the advantage, because the other player, oh wow, all of a sudden now a third party coming into this equation out of nowhere. And that's the thing this season, if you're not ending fights quickly anywhere, doesn't matter. These slipstreams, people are going to find you.
Yeah, he's got the reboost, but he also just has 4 HP. Needs to bring 2 people back up. The big bounce back, and now he's completely 0 out of time. That's done for him. Robon moves in, picks things up. Axe Force 2. I believe these guys are landing a little bit near Holly, so a definite nice third-party jump engagement to kind of wrap things over.
And that's the issue with landing here, is because everyone's going to run a rotate there. If you're landing in this area and you're not ready for that fight, well, everyone else is going to be ready.
Yeah, you got Robon on the south. Aqua will be looking for that too. On the right side at Boney, and then Vidil, if he wants to push down here, that's a big option too. But I believe that Believer Beach fight will always go between them and then the coast on the left where Bloomy's team is. We'll tune back in with the Siptos coming in. Floki, kind of the main attraction, I feel like, for this week. First coming in from round 3. And usually these guys are always stuck between so many teams. I like to call them these Storm Surgers, so to speak. Everyone just farms off of them, Clay. But this time, there's no one really contesting their POI. They get to move out early, get to explore the map through the skies, it looks like, too. And it's looking kind of nice for them.
And that's very interesting, considering Misty Meadows is one of those POIs that you're naturally able to split just based on how the POI is made. There's a left side and a right side, and you don't ever have to interact with each other. But they have claimed the entire POI, the surrounding crash site, and now are able to just rotate freely at will. This is great for them.
Yeah, it's also, I feel like, just the game 1 thing, because we saw it in the first week too. You're right, that's a lot of chess. And by game 3, game 4, people are like, hey, this is ridiculous. I'm tired of landing in the corner of a closet on the right side of the map. Let me just see what's opened up. And Misty's definitely a spot people jump at. Left guard, though, kind of swapped over to a little bit of the middle of the map, not too far away from home at Steamy. And it looks like they're doubling back, running back home to make it in time for curfew, maybe, because nothing's really gone super correctly at their DOS spot. They have a little bit of loot, some ammo, still wondering exactly where they pivoted to. But this looks like a game they can at least play for now, just to get that material count up.
And with going to the orchard, they'll be able to. Luckily, Saul Rescard did have a majority metal there in the inventory, and with this tomato pizza place as well, remnants of old Tomato Town. Ooh, although Hen's gonna take a lot of damage, this should be good to farm back up. But someone we haven't talked about and touched on today, Shayo, is Mongrel.
I mean, I think the rest of the community has, so I'm trying to play a little bit of balance on it overall. As Hen's in a little bit of trouble, he should be fine. But yeah, Mongrel, I mean, big questions, you know, new team, very similar spot to Jerk. He was also a little bit of his, you know, this season's teammate, so to speak, right? We'll see exactly what ends up going down with that team in a sec. They're landing all the way over at Logjam and have a bunch of obstacles to kind of go by. We're tuning into a team that's actually hitting a bunch of these hurdles and obstacles, Hen down to what looks like long-range fire. You wouldn't really expect it. And they have the reboot, I presume, just need to go and find a place to get him back up.
That was very interesting that he went down that quickly, but luckily with the abundance of reboot vans in this season, it's not really that big of a deal anymore. You also have that 5 minutes. So yeah, Rest Card went up right away, got the card, but they could have played it off a little bit there. You do see Trulix going for the immediate reboot inside of the orchard, so get that back up. But when you reboot somebody, it's always a different person. They come back with lost mats, they come back with a different mindset, and you really have to be careful about that. It's like, yeah, I just got rebooted, but then it's like, you know, you don't have as much to your resources. But teams that are going to be very well loaded up. Look at Crow's inventory.
Yeah, they're on a very different type of path compared to other teams we've seen. Merstash is not stopping though. Malabuka picking up a little bit of a drive through as they run away from their POI. And they're right under what seems to be Hen as well. Refsguard has left the big base though, and he's by himself. What happened to Trulix?
It seems like he went down from the reboot, but we talked about them contesting each other, and yet they didn't, but they still somehow found each other on the map and are ended up taking each other out.
This is just completely unfortunate on the side of these two trios. And I'm wondering, once again, maybe the analyst has the answers afterwards as to what Refsguard's game plan is now in terms of just the loot differential. You can see how good and well off Murstache is just completely. And in Malbuka, they're going to be completely going away with Shizo. Refsguard's going to be left by himself, and I feel like he's going to be able to hit that reboot again. Yeah,
it's a 5-minute timer. He's got enough time to sit there, farm back up, grab all the mats that he wants, and just go for the reboot.
His role's not really on fire right now. Can't say the same for Crow, though. The Ox and company, I mean, when you look at this team, a little bit of experience last week as well, playing over, but it just seemed like they could not hit the mark of really making every single end game.
And you see that with, they do have that experience, but they're not as experienced as some. And you see that in these trios that, I want to say mid-tier, but mid-tier of the best, right? They're still the top of the top. But when it comes to a trio like Refsguard and Trulix, they're just a little bit behind because they haven't played together as much. They haven't had as many top tier performances. And so these situations are going to be a great experiences because, yes, look, they showed, hey, we didn't do as well last week, but we're back again. And now, back again, speaking of that, that's going to be Hen and Trulix back in the game.
There's a lot of the chunk splashes to kind of get all their back up into fighting form on the outside. But if you look at their actual inventories and what they have to work with, this is bare bones. This is like challenges you would see on YouTube, you know, winning FNCS with just gray weapons. It's gonna be tough, really tough for these guys to really get back in the game. But if they make it through a crash site, there's so much new floor loot on the ground, sparse all the way and just spread out on the map. There's definitely something these guys can pick up. But now, Clay, people finally based up. They're taking high points, coming to those Floki right below them too. There's nowhere to go to reset the game. They have to play with what they have.
In all honesty, I think they're going to have to work down and try to fight because they're below surge. They don't really have an option. And that's on to Floki and company. That's going to be a big fight. Hen finally upgrades that pump shotgun and they can take this, but 197 below, they need to start going now as that circle starts to close in. It's going to activate right after 202 below. Everyone around them is doing damage. They've got to be careful, but I like that Hen is setting up this trap, trying to find them catch like off guard. But look, they're going up and around. Hen does not know this, and they've got to be careful. But that's the one thing about the Orchard you have to be careful about: the fireflies.
Oh my God, there's fire everywhere, and he catches a big pump shotgun to the head. The entire house is basically gonna burn down in just a little bit. Walls now being claimed all around Hen. If it's not wood, it's basically not his until he gets back with Refsguard, who has all those hard mats. But almost 300 below, you're right, Clay. They have to jump in and make the first move. And the worst part about it is that it has to be an all-in. They can't just go back and forth, pumps blow for blow. They don't have the mats for that. And now Hen's trying to move him from the backside. He takes a little bit of damage. Refsguard has to come with him too. They're wall-to-wall now, but things are still burning around him.
And Trulix is nowhere to be found. He's off on the side. He doesn't have a shield, so he can't really do much. The box not going to be there for the enemy team. Refsguard able just to barely get away from Floki. But look, now they put pressure from other teams as well. This is great. They've trapped them in this three-way spray. If they can just get in, they have to go. They cannot stop pushing. They don't really have the ammo to keep going, but they need to. And you see the team up on the hill spraying. They've got to be careful, though. They're separating that team from the team on the hill. They need them to be pinched together.
And does get caught from the back when you're setting up a trap. Sometimes it might spring right onto you. It's Nate's team that's here. The south side has come to play, and Refsguard's going to be the shoot toy that's just going to get gnawed on. One big shot to maybe get a little bit of damage and influence the fight past the facts. Nazy 1 HP. This entire fight cost the lives of two teams. And wow, Floki, Clement, Deceptos, they get to eat big.
And I thought for a moment, Floki, Clement, and Deceptos were going to go down. There was so much pressure from the 4 different teams on them, but they just waited. They sat there. They said, yes, use all your ammo, use all your mats, whatever you need to do on us. We are going to survive. And then they took the opportunity and took down 2 essentially trios there. And it's 2 of the big ones.
2 of the big ones. This might have been one of the issues for Snazy, Sky, and Nate in general. There are so many teams kind of spawned in the south side. They're all at their POIs. They're not contested. they all move away from each other and you don't pick up Surge. You might be forced to fight just like they did right now, right? And then at the same time, Floki coming to Siptos, they're moving the earliest. They might be fine on Surge. They'll let these teams play around them. They'll let the pressure come down and then pick up the scraps. I mean, those are way more than scraps. That's 4 players' bodies. That's 3 launch pads. That's so much that you have to play with now. And as we look at low ground a little bit, we're going to tune into some of the people who like to take height earlier on that have higher bases. Here are Aqua, Fastaroki moving around the edge. There is a team that's about to block him off right in front of them after these builds. But Aqua should have a contingency plan to get right past them.
And the combination of CR and Aqua had always intrigued me, because you have Aqua, who is this high ground warrior, and then you have CR, who's just gonna hop in any box, fight anybody that he wants to. It doesn't matter. And you would think, oh, that really wouldn't work out. But if Aqua can get to the end game with CRR up, it's just such a beautiful match. And I'm excited to see what they can do here this week, because they are great. Aqua is one of the best players in the world. He's proven that, but he just hasn't had that team behind him the past couple seasons.
They're definitely kind of beasts, but this week need to change up and be a different animal completely, right? They were here last week. They were looking good. I mean, record holders in the way they take height and the way they pressure other teams. They have to go past and get more records, be more than they even are. It seems impossible, but they can do it, especially with what you're mentioning, the beast on a leash aspect of CRR, the wildness of Fastaroki, the way he takes plays. I mean, they're very individualized. And then this team we're watching right now, the Siptos, Clem and Floki, they always end up doing things together, always breaking things down in the same type of mindset, all looking at the same things. It's 2 very cool flavors, and they both look to be a little bit elevated overall on their bases on the same side of the zone. I wonder exactly if they'll clash, what their game plan is for endgame, because one of the big things about having a North Zone over here, look at what we're looking at right now. Lots of hills, lots of elevation. If you control height, you basically get to dictate the pace of the game.
There's a lot of open space as well between those 2 hills. Nobody is based up there. You see, no one wants to go there, and it doesn't matter. We're going all the way to Craggy, the north most possible zone we could get. We're getting it right now. And what's interesting about Craggy is there's so many spots that you can't just go through. There's so much straight elevations as well. This is one of those spots that if you haven't played a zone around it, it gets very tricky.
And then we also get to rename the game, right? No longer is this game 1. This is Taste and Chapix and Reasons game. No matter what happens, even if they end up choking here towards the end, they should have some of the best spots to control. Maybe they over-rotated on their movement and aren't really in completely craggy cliffs, but they should have a good lay of the land, who's coming in, who's coming out. They have basically the facts, the biographies of every single trio's movement here. And Stacey will survive, had the med kit, try to get his team as much placement by himself. I don't think the win will be coming through, but it's cool to see what he'll do in Tastin's land.
Solo impact score. He's trying to get it up there for right now, but he's got some saving grace, right? That mythic burst AR, it could take down a person in just a couple bursts. Hey, as a solo, that's one of the best weapons to have in your inventory, other than that legendary or epic pump shotgun. Obviously, you want that, but in a great spot. No one really knows he's there. It doesn't seem like anybody's pressuring him, but we'll wait on this surge. This is where the issue will lie. If he's just 32 above, that's nowhere near safe, and they're gonna have to find more tags.
As a solo, yeah, and there's not really an opportunity for just tags in a zone like this. It's mostly just full out fights. No one's really editing way out in the open. A lot of people who are good on surge, like Aqua's team, you can see them at the bottom, not going to be exposing themselves to anything right now. And once again, in Craggy Cliffs, this zone in 30 seconds could really go anywhere. We go to a mountain zone if it pulls towards the right. We get completely aquatic going towards Aqua Island on the left. There's so many different things that can still happen, and no team's position is really completely advantageous until we figure it out.
Oh, and look at this little sneaky play. This is on Aqua and Company. Fury, Link, and Siberia Jake need surge. Quick stat for everybody, though. A quarter of the players playing today played in the Chapter 2 Season 7 finals. That is, again, just showing how great Europe is. The top of the top will stay at the top and perform, and they need surge, though. That's not what they're doing. They're not going for it. They're hot. They're looking at peaks. They need to hop in. This is the thing with Surge. You can look for these peaks, you can look at it, but look, this is those areas. You can't build there, you can't go up. You have to go around, you have to find angles. They're gonna keep trying to find some. They get some damage, but look, they're back down. Link gonna go down, Jake gonna go down. Now it's all up to Fury. He's got to try to find something, but nothing to be found. He goes for the loot, but look, it's an entire trio on the other side.
This is Aqua's trio that has some of the best basement security I've ever seen inside a building in Fortnite. Fury's making sure that this entire unfortunate Surge circumstance is not going to be completely free. But he does find one thing, pump 45 below. It might save him. Down to 5 HP, knocks Crow. Was an insane loadout, we already know that, so there's lots of shields for him to take if he gets that finish. Fury keeping the dream alive, but no, is that fall damage that takes him out? I'm not sure, but a drastic play to try to save the game.
And he almost caught Crow, and now Crow's going to be pressured and end up going down because of it. And KPI as well, very low. And look at who's going to reap the benefits of it. It's going to be Tayson, Reason, and Chapix. Again, they've got the best positioning. They know how to fight around here. They know the lay of the land. This is their game. It is set up for them. They're above Surge as well. This is it. This is their game.
One of the best things to do when you have a mid-ground position is try to bully a team right beside you. Crow's teammate down. Definitely a very easy team to manipulate. Watch them move and then move after the fact. They have literally every factor in this game for them. A craggy cliff zone that they're supremely used to. Literally started the game over here, and a team to kind of play off of the entire time. That's being Crow's team, with Crow obviously knocked down.
My one issue is their AR, but you saw only 53 bullets there on Tayson. I'm not sure what they're working with everywhere else, but that is going to be an issue. Now with this zone being revealed, we'll see where that 6th zone is going to go. No one moving just yet, and that scares me, because if no one has moved just yet, it's going to pull to the northeast. Nobody is safe right now. Yes, people are going to hold it, but that's not really on the high ground. That's not on the cliff. That's going to be just skirting around the outside edge.
That's gonna be way on the beach, so a lot of people might just choose to get a little bit elevated. Maybe you can get those low ground drops going, but if you make a mistake, you'll drop to low. That'll make things very difficult for those teams trying to keep it consistent. Let's see Snazy's POV as a solo player. Not too many mats available on the hard side, but he does have some wood to rock with. We'll try to recycle a base. 19 teams available on this beach vacation. And Snazy's still keeping the dream alive. MXR goes down. Badil's gone down early, as is Mongrels. On height, it is Fast Roki, it is CRR, and Aqua. They live in the basement. They got their own place, Clay. I don't think they're moving out anytime soon.
They went literally from the basement of Craggy to the highest heights that we can see. Snazy gonna pick up another elimination, now sitting on 3. Still somehow below, though, operating very well. 65 builds. Look at the layer changes coming through. Nobody knows he's here. And when you have this opportunity on the low ground just to work with what you have, look, barely taking any damage.
He went all the way for a mid-ground lair. It is a big investment, still just the 6th zone. And yeah, he has slightly stabilized. Back inside the zone, though, to see if anything is happening in terms of pressure on that side, but nothing does. Tayson getting another knock on the feet as well. Flow is going down to Mustache, so another big clash happening. That's a full elim, and Scram goes down too. He's taking out big teams left, right, and center.
Chapix, Reason, and Tayson, though, look, they're looking to take the high ground, and they can, because Zestin is fighting high ground for Stroky. The only one left there. The Loot Boy team gonna take him down. He's trying to just push forward, but again, that just leaves Chapix, Tayson, and Reason the opportunity to take high ground. We said it was their game. It's set up with them for the zone, and now they have height. What more could you ask for?
Hey, slow and steady wins the race. Aqua, just as usual with Fast Roki and CRR, always like to push their advantages as fast as possible. This time, end up tripping over their own feet. The Loot Boys are always up there too. Fast Roki goes for a big swim. Zestin picks up a few more eliminations inside that feed, and now this man's drowning. He needs something to save him.
Can he find a life vest, the lifeboat, anything there? No, the shot is gonna hit, but it's not gonna be enough. He's somehow able to survive for just a little bit, finds his cone, and edit it just in a way that protects him for the moment, but no, Zestin gonna do it. And again, look at high ground. It's Reason and Chapik, his taste on there operating so well, but Loki, Clement, and Deceptor still down below, doing well, trying to find any eliminations they can. We've got a lot of full trios left.
This is going to be a big stalemate for a bunch of them. Full metal tarps, the zone's bouncing back, and you can hear that not many AR shots are even being fired right now. How are Reason and Tayson supposed to penetrate these builds right below them? It's basically impossible. They're going for free mats too on the other side of these builds. Huge for them. There will be a little bit of pause and pressure for a lot of teams, But as this next zone comes in, we're going right back to Craggy, where the fight started, to the main house, and everyone's gonna have to move.
Oh, but someone ended up getting a nice beam there in the taste, and luckily team was there to back him up. But no, someone's going for the high ground. A solo trying to clutch it up, trying to take it from them. They said, hey, we may be in Kragu, it may be your domain, but we want it back. Look who it is. It's gonna be Malabuka. They fought early, they fought in that mid game, and now they want to fight late game for a high ground.
Trying to go for it. Zippos does get the big drop down. Floki is gonna try to hit a few shots. A lot of pressure. Where's this happening? He gets a little bit lost inside the zone. They didn't do a big form of damage, and they'll still move by.
The great thing is they did so much more damage to everybody else than they did themselves, caused so much more chaos for everyone, and they're just sitting there chilling. Yes, they got another medkit, they're good. We've got Airkin down there as well. Look at all the chaos being caused in the mid ground, while high ground, we're just chilling.
So trying to go for the beams. Zippos all the way down low, controls that entire low ground. They'll be the last form of entry, but he's going to go down to Airkin on the side. So 2v2, while Tayson, Reese, and Chapix, they break down. Big wood builds, easy replaces. Tayson gets actually knocked while moving all the way towards low ground, but it'll be a 2v2 towards the height. Mustache and Malabuka trying to stay alive. All of that Solar Squad has basically been taken out, and now we just have those height teams remaining.
And they have to go down because it's going into the main building of Craggy Cliffs. They can't just sit there and spray, and Rezon recognizes that. Nice shots there, gonna take him down very low. No, not gonna find him. Trying to find the shots, will get that one. He's the last one remaining. No, the clutch is not going to be there. They go down. It's gonna be Malabuka with the clutch victory royale.
Last minute entrance to the tournament, first game win right there from Malabuka, Mustache, and Shizo. I mean, they had a very good off spawn drop, they had very good mid game management, and one of the sickest end games we've seen at Craggy Clay.
And it came down to the fact that that building in between them just gave them so much more protection, and it was already so open. It's a very naturally open building, so they knew where everyone was going to be dropping down for. Yes, high ground will win you games, but when you have to drop into low ground and they have the control, it's going to go to low ground every time.
It's tough. We had lots of focus on height, on low. It was mid that one, and we focused on the game. So let's go back and take a little bit of a refresher with the desk. Zeke, what do you got for us?
Well, you know what I have is how much I love you and Clay just absolutely slaying this casting right now. It is so good to have Clay back for the weekend. My goodness. So Mustache and company were the last team in from round number 3. The last team. And then they come into round 4, where everything is going to take another step forward. It's going to get that much more difficult. And they say, we're going to win game 1. And we're not just going to win against anybody, Levin. We're going to take it against Tayson of all people.
Yeah, and look, you know, the way you said that, Zeke, it almost seems as if maybe like this is a team who shouldn't have been here, but then they've just managed. Like, this is a team that probably should have been here, right? They should have been in round 4. Of course, you know, things didn't go their way, or things didn't go to plan in round 3. Fortunately, they were able to make it in. And look, they're doing what we knew they were able to do. I think the moment we knew they were playing in round 4, we always knew it was going to be a problem for Hens trio at Steamy. That was always going to be the big question mark. Oh dear, is Hens, are they going to qual now? Like, are they going to have a chance now that these guys are here? After game 1, it doesn't really seem like they do. Like, I don't know if they're going to be playing like this. It doesn't seem like they do. They win the game. Look, this is a team that should be playing in finals, and at this rate, they probably will be.
Look, all I'm going to say is Benji fans not happy right now. They're not looking so good right now. After game number 1, see the team is potentially going to contest them in finals. Did they manage to make it through? They're probably not looking too happy.
You hate to hear these things. Reese, we kind of talked about the convergence here at the top of the show, and I wanted you to kind of go through, take a look, and see what loot was available to us there and was possibly missed out on this last game. So talk us through it.
Yeah, when I looked at the round 3 games, Milad's team over here basically was looting this side, getting as enough materials as possible by harvesting here, and then they pushed all the way into the convergence, right? So it was like they managed to make sure, basically doing exactly what I said at the top of the show. They managed to get all the materials first, then go into the convergence and grab all that loot later. You can see them pushing in here to this old depot and managing to get maxed metal first. So when I was watching the games, I was like, yeah, this is what they're going to do. I can see this plan unfolding straight away. It's perfect. But no, they leave, right? So I was like, this the whole thing's ruined. They looked like they were just trying to go in. And then look, notice, we talked about these guys, Rescar's team, who's mid-map. What's this? You see all this loot? See all this loot over here? Nah, they don't want it either. So what was it really interesting is this was a north zone, right? So a lot of these teams knew they need to get deep. Because remember, it ended in Craggy, and look what was left. No one rotated through here until Mongrel's team just quickly went through later on and left all of this loot purely because it was a really far north zone, and these teams knew that they had to rotate that extra distance and didn't want to spend the extra time here, which was an interesting dynamic for a new area of the map.
Look at all that loot. A lot of loot available. A lot of loot available. Look, we can see Mustache Malibu and Shiza sitting in first place. So you're always gonna look. You know, one thing I will say is I typically do get in. You know, I fall into the hype of game one when I know I shouldn't. I know I shouldn't. But I've fallen into the hype again. Look, we will see. We will see. Floki, Clement, and the Sipster in second place. That's nice, right? Of course, we talked about how good they were yesterday, and Mark's trio actually sitting in third, and they did really well in round 3 as well. So props to these teams who did well in round 3, seeming to start off the day hot again. But it's all about consistency, pacing yourself over the course of the 6 games.
Yeah, I also want to say Mark's team, along with Ori and Artis, we didn't actually talk about them at the top of the show at all, but they've basically just like an underrated, but not the right word, like a new and developing team who, this is their first set lobby environment, and they've managed to come third already after game number 1. And now I'm with you. I don't want to fall into the hype, but this could definitely be a good run for them, given that they've clearly been playing well across the entire weekend.
Guys, just send it on the hype, okay? Well, you know what? That's what we're here for. Just follow the hype. You know what? I will do that. You guys keep doing you. I'm following the hype train right now. We're about to jump aboard the battle bus once again. That was just game number 1 of qualifier number 2. We have 5 more out ahead of us. We'll have to see how this continues to shake up and develop. But for now, we're going back over with Shio Wager and Clay Staling to take us into game number 2.
Hey, thank you so much. We'll see if that convergence really comes into play, but what is converging right now, Clay, is a lot of beef at the top, just in points. A lot of these teams might not be fighting each other completely, but they will be competing for that top 5.
And what's interesting is our second place team there was in 6th place. They didn't get enough eliminations, and that's gonna hurt them. Yes, you can get second place, but if you're not getting those elims, like we saw in the 10 elims there from our actual second place in the overall leaderboard, they're gonna take it over you every single time. So you have to be careful. But like the Death said, consistency is the name of the game. And you talk about tournament management, there are a lot of players at the top of the leaderboard that are just better at doing that.
Oh, absolutely. And especially when you have a home zone next to you, you want to make sure that game goes great. 6th place is not too bad. For Stash Malabuka and Shizo, though, will be that focus to see if they can really push their lead forward. Just a 2-point advantage so far, and things got to a tiebreaker last week too for 5th place, meaning every elim will matter right now. Sabahu, Asitam, and TIDI will be rolling in.
Already picking up 1 elimination, and Saba doesn't want to get too aggressive. They only have that SMG. Don't want that teammate though to get back to theirs, and unfortunately they will. Pressure will be there. They're looking for any extra angles and actually going to find minis up there, and that is worth it every single time you can take them. But SMG 26 bullets really has to rely on their teammates to push up. As you see, Tidy does have a shotgun, does have builds to really get aggressive, but these are one of those spots, again, it's like Steamy. It's very awkward to fight in. It's also very awkward to defend. You have to break all the walls around you, but then everyone's going to know where you are.
That's minimal mats. It's kind of scuffed. Basically like a boxing match, but with no ring, no gloves, and no cameras. AKA, why are they even doing it? Go somewhere else on the map.
Well, and we've seen there's so many other places as well.
Got some value. Misty's kind of open, you know? Definitely contestable. But sometimes you got to send a message. The Tidy will take a long time sending that message. Might be at this station, but looks like the cellular data might not be getting that entire SMS across. We'll get our own little message coming in, Clay. That Mustache Malbuka Shizo still on top. That 2-point difference is with Floki, Clement, Deciptos. Mark, Artis, Ori, Lizen as well with Eric, and who were low ground the last game, are going to be a part of the conversation. And Jose Crow and Deox are there too.
And this is why this fight is awkward, because it's always going to be drawn out. No one wants to hop in because of these doors. You can't really build around. There's frames that you can't get rid of unless you pickaxe them just perfectly. But Top is going to go in. Tidy trying to go for it as well, but now they're going to even the fight now down to a 2v2. But no, going for the finish is going to take them down. Unfortunately, Top got a little bit too greedy there. They do get the finish, but now it's up to Fancy. Can the shots actually hit there. I don't think they're going to be able to. They don't really have a lot. If I'm them, I grab whatever reboot cards I can. I launch pad away, and then I try to make my way back. Again, you've got 5 minutes. That completely changes the way you can think about this game. Goes to the shotgun shot and misses the crucial one, and unfortunately going to fall down. Zone's not here. They've lost their teammate. It's going to be awkward.
Should be a reboot close by, hopefully. Should be fine for them. They should be used to probably, especially, you know, in cash cups and the open formats right before this. Getting a little bit of a leg knocked off while they're trying to get their game started. They'll be right back, no issues. This is also the trio that kind of changed last game so drastically. Magfie, Zest, and Hydro pushed height when Aqua had it, and, you know, completely changed the game.
What is his loot? I'm sorry. Is there something I'm missing out on here? It's Stealthy. I know it's one of my favorite POIs, but a legendary AR and a legendary pump. I'd love to see the rest of the trio's loot, but it just seems like they've got a leg up already on the rest of the competition.
I definitely have the firepower, but when it's on this trio, they're so passive. They don't really like taking fights with other people unless it's very pre-planned and advantageous for them. The loot never matters that much. If you're not box fighting, then, you know, the pump isn't going to be the biggest difference. They're just looking for that maximum damage. When it comes to endgame, though, when they will contest height or maybe try to knock off another team on their mid-ground layer, that's where things end up changing a lot. But they'll take their time getting this game going.
And I think Stealthy is one of these POIs that has actually really benefited from the floor loot change, because there's just so many more chances for floor loot to come through for Stealthy, and you're seeing it in terms of loot here. No, I feel like no matter what trio we see, they land here, and I mean, just look at what they have. They're max on shield all the way around, and I like that yes, zone is just now moving, but considering everyone else is still looting up in their POI, look, they're the first ones to move. And we talk about teams and empty spaces. Look at the bottom left-hand corner of that map. Sludgy was very minimally hit. Weeping Woods was hit as well. There's not really much. There's that big hill below the convergence, not hit as well. But look, they know, hey, we've got to rotate early. We've got to go get those tags. And that's what they're doing. And it's great to see, because look at their path in. They're going to go all the way to the middle of the map, seeing essentially one team.
They'll have their focus locked in. And one of the big things and the big differences from week 1 to week 2 to the south side. Week 1, I believe, was about 5 teams, none of them really contested, all having lots of space to work with. As a result, they got to pick the spots they were in. A lot of them did well, and one of them ended up inside that top 5. Look at this checkpoint, not the most friendly. Don't want to check your passports or your identification. They just want to shoot, ask questions later. Loot Boys will skip that completely. We'll go back to that point about the south in a little bit. Zohan Taki having a fight towards the mosh pit section of the map. This is the northwest crash site. It kind of links Pleasant Park, Coral Castle, and Stealthy Stronghold. Anyone literally ends up here, Clay. I've seen people who land at retail somehow end up here in the first zone to fight. It's like, it's the place to be if you need Surge, if you don't have items, if you're a solo player trying to clutch your arena games, or even inside the FNCS qualifiers. This entire part of the zone gets crazy.
Well, and you see it now with Coral. Coral's team coming over, Link, Fury, and Xavier Jake want to be involved. And this is one of the reasons that Coral is actually a little bit more viable this season, because you can rotate there. The thing with Coral, it was always there's not that much loot. And again, it's another POI that is improved by the loot floor spawn changes. But now there's rotation out of Coral Castle. There's an ability to get more materials that you wouldn't get out of Coral. Hey, it makes it that much easier. So I can see why everybody's going there.
Definitely efficient now. Before it was just like a flavor thing, or you don't have a drop. It was kind of secondary. Now you can kind of compete with some of the best spots on the map. Big thing about any spot you're landing at, though, is you want to be able to leave that POI fast, get into positions like the Sniptos Folky Clement are doing right now. I mean, these guys landed all the way at Misty, got their game started super quick, accelerated at this point in the zone, and now they're above Lazy Lake, controlling what seems to be the entire map around them.
Ooh, and a quick stat for everyone. Contested trios won only 8% of set lobbies in Chapter 2 Season 8 so far. So if you're contested and you're winning games, you are just doing something that very few are doing. I mean, it's just that much harder. And we've always known that with Fortnite. We always know if you have an uncontested drop, you're going to just statistically do better because you don't have to worry about those off-spot fights. You don't have to worry about, hey, this team's going to have better loot, or am I 50-50ing this? Am I going to get it? Or are they going to be able to pick it up before me? It's just, hey, I got to play my game. I got to play it the way I want. And what's interesting about Europe, and I really love seeing it coming over from NA West, is that sort of airwax style of, hey, get to center of zone, set up, and look for tags.
A lot of teams take that opportunity to do it. That's their set game plan. In a zone like this, it's great, and a majority of them are also uncontested. To comment on that stat, those uncontested teams, I feel like, do better when we don't have these types of zones that hone in towards the center. When you're playing off of momentum and they go way off the edge of the map, just like we had near Craggy Cliffs, you really get to go from unlucky situation to unlucky situation and then thrive and then somehow get stronger. It's unlikely, but it happens a lot for some of these contested teams. Regardless, Snazy, Skite, and Nate gonna stay ahead on the damage this time. They don't have to go all the way across the map towards Steamy Stacks. Run into 7 different teams to get to actually write their own story. And that's huge for a team like this. When Snazy, Skite, and Nate are comfortable in any of the trios I've ever been in any layer, they end up playing very well. That last game, kind of a fish out of water. I feel like this trio adapts poorly to different situations, but when they get to set that situation for themselves first, they really end up having a good game.
And you see it with the way they're rotating. They sent Snazy to rotate out first. They were a little bit separated as well, and now they're here, but Sky gonna get tagged up a little bit. As you see, there's already a lot of teammates here. And what I like about this zone is when you have someone sitting up on that Guardian Tower, and then you have 2 people sitting up on top of the big mountain as well. You get so many different angles, you get so many different looks, and all they gotta do is take that Guardian Tower, build a couple walls, and they'll be able to fly backwards towards you. And so you can get back, and that's exactly what they did. They kind of conceded that Guardian Tower. But setting up for this zone, they have priority position. Everyone else has to play around them. Snazy, Sky, and Nate, look at how much of a disadvantage they are here. They're not going to be able to see half of the players rotating in. So they really, really have to hope that there's a lot of players coming from that southeast and southwest. Otherwise, their storm surge is going to hurt.
Might be a little bit of an inverse double-edged sword, if that makes sense. Whereas, yeah, it is kind of bad for them on one side. On the other side, though, like, they don't have to ever worry about any pressure from the mountain, any pressure from some of the godlike teams that are already set up. Jason, Reason, Chapix, I'm going to wait 1 second before I comment on it, because always a threshold takes a little bit of time to update. But 345 above, they've really, you know, had good conversations with a lot of teams moving from the north to the south side of the map. Have gone well. The business transactions have been really good. They're up in profits on this search, and they're keeping things low key towards the south side on this map. I mean, last game we saw it too. They didn't really stay loud and take things first compared to people around them. They let other people jump at opportunities, and then once those players get hindered, last game it was Aqua, they capitalize and kind of fill in the space that should be impossible to fill. This is a crazy rotation in water, something that, you know, if somebody's gun would post, how would you rotate in this zone? You'd answer with, you'd swim all the way around. People say, that's impossible. That's stupid. That's not going to happen. They make it work. Sneaky. I like it.
And that's very EU. Right? When this map first came out, when this chapter first started, Left Eye did rotations just similar to that, but he did it in first zone. He would go all the way around the outside, farm up as much as he can, fish-wise, hit all the campfires. But that's honestly such a smart rotation, because if there's any way we could see the entire map right now and see where everybody is, you'll see that there's a stark difference with where Retail Row is. If you draw a line straight up that mountain, no one's going to be there to that eastmost side, and it's going to be all theirs. They get 4 mats, they're able to grab that drop, they can really just get back to where they want to be in this game, because hey, they realize no one's going to do this. It's not the best strat, but hey, it's going to work.
Might need to have a private discussion then, Clay, in terms of Storm Surge strats with Fury, Siberia, Jake, and Link, because these guys have been struggling last game a little bit, and this one too. They're really putting themselves out there to get damage done, and they're still 99 below.
I think with them, they just need to be more decisive. You see Link going for it, Siberia just sitting back. Fury is obviously healing up, so they had to take a little bit of moment there, but still, they're back together, and Siberia is still back healing up. If you've got 150 shield or total HP, you should just keep going at this point. You're 53. Okay, now they're above, so they don't have to, but still, 53 above when there's 9 players that need to go down, it's not safe.
Not at all. They're still going to be kind of in trouble. Man who's saving his team out of trouble right now. Snazy came up another elimination in the feed. Siberia actually getting a knock on the Nate as this is going down, so they have a very big spread out fight happening. Fanai and Robon, they're going to still be here. Not a chance to really interrupt anyone in the early game. It'll all be mid-game action. They have a launch pad to use here as well that I'm pretty sure they should have by their side. I think Subuki just took out Mustache, someone from that team, so that'll happen. And now Mongrel also getting knocked by Scram. Scram and Snazy popping off side-by-side play. Both these teams were here in week 1 as well, alongside Tayson's. They have big expectations. They've been in this round before. They have completely uncontested POIs, some of the strongest ones on the map. They really should be ahead of everyone and end up top 5 today.
They should, but it's Fortnite. That doesn't what should happen doesn't always happen, and
but it's a lazy lake.
Most of the time it doesn't. Well, and that's the thing. In my opinion, I would much rather have, I would say, even risky reels uncontested than lazy lake. I just don't personally like lazy lake's layout and where it's located in the map, and honestly the loot. Now I like it a little bit more because the harpoon's back, right? You get a lot of the harpoons there with those fishing barrels. But for me, it's just an awkward POI to loot quickly and get out of. You're stuck looking for ammo boxes. You're stuck in all these different buildings. And with the POI like Risky or a POI like Believer or Holly, you can quickly loot and get out, and you don't have to worry about awkwardly getting caught in a rotation.
Very true. I feel like these teams that have kind of had a lot of expert takes on lazy and the way they break it down. There's so much flexibility after you leave that POI. You can go anywhere on the map. It's almost central. There's so much to do. Snazy has like basically, or not Snazy, sorry, Scram has any opportunity to do whatever he wants from that POI. And maybe this time, this week, it'll be good for him. Eleni though, lots of damage being dealt right now. I think these guys didn't really have the best surge so far, and past that has been getting beamed over and over again. So Blocks, Malad, Eleni, I think combined barely even make up 1 health bar play. This is down atrocious.
I don't even think they make up 1. I think the math is just not there. I think it's maybe 160 HP. They've got the medkits, and when you're this trio, you just hope, hey, I hope, oh, Eleni almost going down there. Very, very close. They're gonna pop these medkits. But you just hope you can make it in and there's no tags on you. You hope, hey, I've got this 2 shield left on me. Please don't tag it off. But my point stands. Look at this map. You don't see anybody to the east of this mountain. There's nobody there. So the team that did that, Trapix and company, they're going to already be set up way better.
The setup might have to wait for just a sec. Blue Boy team completely spread apart on this low ground. Backfeast fighting for Stash and Malabuka alongside Shizo. Hydro and Zestin are fighting Taste and Chapix and Reason at the same time. 40 points for these guys rolling in. They're really elevating the game so far in terms of staying alive with the placement. Have a Elam under their belt as well. But they're struggling with a teammate down. And Hydro's still getting pressured. Finally gets Zestin up. Right now, for a lot of these teams you see on screen, Scram, Hydro, people on top of the leaderboard, Floki, Clement, Deciptos, Malabuka, Mustache, and Shizo. Anyone really above that 30-point mark, it's about maintaining momentum and having a good game too. You want to survive till the 8th zone. Definite win conditions for the overall tournament riding on this game right now for the POVs you see on screen.
Well, and look at how much more of a different disadvantage Hydro is, because they did this rotation a little bit late. Right, Trapix, Taste and Reason made that rotation early, and now with where the zone is, they're sitting on one of the highest mountains in the zone. And so they don't have to worry about what Hydro is of, I've got to go up this. There's no, it's very unlikely that this zone is going to pull down. There's still a chance. We've seen it with Fortnite, but we know the zones usually prefer mountains and will go up, and see just how bad of a position it is if you take it too late.
Might be able to drop on the backside and go for that airdrop you see on the south. Could be a potential way to get out of this, but their mats are bleeding now. This will be tough for them moving through. They have about a third left inside their builds. Overall, I mean, this is a very tough spot for these guys to roll in with.
Oh, we wait for that zone to show that half in, half out. Woo and Alani able to make it in somehow, but what they're not making is their shots. Currently is 136 below. It's trending upwards, but that zone closing it, and look, it's going to be right on top of them, so they do get some saving grace, but 48 HP, 103 below. They don't really have an option. They just got to keep going after Lays and Aircon. They really have to keep that pressure down. But just look, their Stormshare just taking them both out.
That's just tragic. They end up going down. So many different players falling in the feet of the lightning. The punishment for not doing enough damage. Taste and Reason, Chapix, they stay high above the clouds, both in damage and in position. No chance that they're going to be affected by this. They get to watch everyone else struggle. Hen's going to be one of those players. Lysen, who's alive last game, is going to be going down right now. Stacey, Skite, and Nate, they're finally ahead of things. They've got everything set so far. It's Stacey himself. He set up this game to really play Clay. Last time, it was in by himself. Got 20 points alone with his clutch. We saw some backside zone eliminations. Ooh. From 31st all the way to 10th place. That's huge. And this time, he's got his whole team by his side, and they might be even going closer to Caddy, where they started this game. This is going to be huge for the wildcard squad.
Finally get to play their game and actually going to grab some of this loot as well. They really needed it. You saw the AR ammo go from about 50 to 357. And when you have that mythic burst, all you want is max ammo there. And look at Mustache around the backside, trying to stay up, trying to stay on their feet. But my question is, who currently has high ground? I don't think we've gotten the chance to see it. We see High Joe and Zeston able to make their way up, but look at how much more of a shambles they are in compared to some of the others. Team 24 builds, and it's almost all in wood. Only 3 shields remaining. They don't have a lot to work with, and just look at high ground.
All right, so we move all the way across towards retail. We don't really have to deal too much with how the zone looks. All the comms will just be focused on your lair so far. If it does go back to a mountain, that's 2 big things to take care of. And now, kind of deja vu to the first game. Aqua, Fast Roki, CRR, doesn't matter where the zone goes, height is home. Now, will they get evicted again is a question, but they're staying hot. They're ready. They got the peppers. Let's go.
Already 4 elims as well. So going into this, there's a very big potential that they could take first place after this game if they just keep finding elims, and this is one of the teams to do it. They've got to be careful about these players flying, but look at the bridge they've already set up. They said, you know what, hey, if you're launch padding, you got to go through us, and we see everybody going up. Look at how many, it just looks like popcorn kernels popping up from below, trying to go in. Look, they've already launch padded. They are out. They say, you know what, high ground, we've got to go, but look, there's already a team rebuilding up.
And these were their arch nemesis in game number 1. Gonna be taken out, not gonna be able to interrupt these guys all the way over on height. Maybe Aqua goes for it again. Yes, they build out land, and now will challenge Aware and Karma, who all the way have that height. I think they've given it up and also launch padded. Deceptos, Floki, Clement, maybe played a bit too passive. 278 below Surge. Really need to find a team and get active right now. If not, it's not going to be players that are going to be stopping them. It's the lightning that strikes from the skies.
And they're trying. There's a team on the other side of the wall, and it really hurts to see when there's someone on the other side of the wall and you've got that harpoon and you're not just going in, you're not just going aggressive, especially with how much damage that Surge is about to do. You really think, hey, maybe they need to use it, maybe they need to get in. But again, high ground going over to CR, Aqua, and for Stroky right now, 33 above. There we go. There's the aggression. They're trying to drop these players down. Now 61 above. They're looking good. They're looking great. Even 3 eliminations to their name. Looking to low ground. This is what you want to see. This is where they could take first. But Mustache, to my knowledge, is still in this game. No, now going to fall. Tayson going to be the one to take him down. But still just a knock. His team is up.
Leaderboard was still very close towards that top 5, so the elims might make the difference. Aware taking out an entire trio. That's Ristretto's going down. Erican and Blackie also gonna fall to Skite and Scram all the way on the bottom side of this zone. Mid ground though, very populated. No one wants to touch the dirt. It is elevating and changing like quicksand down below. You might get trapped if you don't move fast enough. Hell will be there with Scram looking for his next move. Flows on the backside of the tarp. Chapix is down though. Big pump from the sides of Tayson. This is round 3 for him. He's been really playing the endurance game, fight after fight, and finally running out of breath now. It'll be just reason to kind of push forward and keep the hopes and dreams alive for this team.
But 5 eliminations going out, he's got to be okay with that. His reasons going in, just gonna miss the shots, and that's them going down. Only 8 trios remaining. We got 20 total players. Look at high ground yet again. Karma, they took it from him once. They said, no, we're gonna keep it. Aqua going down, fall damage coming through. ZRR, Frostroki trying to go. CRR down for Frostroki. The only one left, he goes down as well. And now it's Zendaya, Karma, and Awar up on the high ground, but second place, the only one in top 4 still alive, is operating with 8 eliminations. Shio on the low ground.
These guys have basically taken apart anyone who's had trouble all the way on the high ground. They played their game very patient from the start in both the first and second, but now it's about time to go for that VR. Floki ends up going down on the backside of this entire tarp. Sipto's in trouble. He suffocates inside the zone. There's barely even any room to move, but he gets free. And now it's him and Clement who make a 2-man operation to try to save this game.
And this is where the charge is going to hurt him. This is the moment where, hey, yes, the charge was great early game, but look, you're just going to go down and pump. They're all down. They're all taking 3rd place. It doesn't matter. They had so many eliminations, but you talk about Scram. They're here. It's a 3v3. Karma up above. Scram's got the loot. They've got the loadout. They've controlled the low ground right now. They've even got a heal-off condition with that chug splash. They, I think, got a med kit all around. You've got to assume they do, but 8 eliminations as well. No matter what happens, that's going to be a lot of points coming into this game. They were not inside the top 10. They were sitting at 13th. Look at that shot from Scram. Going to be a good amount. Can use the chug splash to get back healthy. Does have the big shield, but what they don't have is they don't have time, and they do not have materials.
A game of survival on low. Scram does not actually fit the height to ride. A trio of power dropping down. Now it's all up to Flois and Hellfire. They both get quenched. No chance. Extinguished as Zendaya, Karma, and Aware take down Titans inside the European scene. That's a game 2 win. An amazing display of all sides of Fortnite. What a game from these guys.
They were in 20th place coming into this game, and they were able to not only pick up the Victory Royale, but do it over teams like Clement, Floki, Deceptos, Aqua, CR, and Frostroki. They in fact took high ground twice from them. We talk about Aqua on height. No, it was Karma on height this time around, and they got the dub.
Yeah, the coolest part about it, you're right, is that they grabbed this game by the wheel and rode to a VR. It didn't happen in front of them. It wasn't the zone that won them the game. That was hard work, and I want to see how that work really happens. Zeke, Levin, Reese, talk to me about game 2.
Once again, another trio bringing the heat here in qualifier number 2. 13 eliminations for Karma's trio, 56 points after game number 2. And I love the way that Clay says this, because this is what I said after game number 1. They are pulling away these victory royales from these the vanguard, right? These well-established trios that have formed for Chapter 2 Season 8. And they make it look effortless. Like, of course, it takes a lot of work to make this happen, right? But still, a win, 56 points, that's huge, Levin.
Yeah, I think in that game, we actually saw a lot of, the contrast in teams this season within EU, right? I think you have, on one hand, you have Aware's team, who are one of the teams who just really wants to go for height. And in this game, it works out for them. They're able to take it over from Aqua's team, and they win out the game. On the other hand, you have Flois' team, who I think there's more longevity in their strategy, where I know they didn't win the game, and I know in Fortnite we typically do sort of, analyze the teams who will win the game. But, when you look at the foundational thing, Flois' team, it was light work for them, right? When they're on low, they cut off these, 8th moving came, and they just sort of cut off every single team low ground, and, they get 9 eliminations with it, and they go on and they have that brilliant game. In EU, you're more likely to be able to do that game after game, because there's not really many other teams looking to do that. Aware, brilliant game, right? That's great. That's going to push them high in the standings. Are we going to see them be able to do that every single game? It's going to be difficult, but if they're hitting shots the way they did last game, it's going to be possible.
Yeah, and they managed to take it because obviously Floki, Clement, Deceptos weren't playing low ground that game. We saw them playing a ton of mid and a little bit higher layers than that, so they weren't in that low ground position. So you managed to get Flois' team all the way down there and capitalize on that availability, that free rent basically down there. So they managed to obviously get tons of eliminations because of it too. But we can't not talk about Karma's team just continually cycling up on height over and over and over again and trading over to eventually obviously pick up a Victory Royale.
Absolutely great stuff. Super quick before we take a look at the standings, see how things are going. Reese, you wanted to highlight for us a crazy engagement, how to win fights super early in the early game extremely quickly.
Yeah, I want to show you basically. A lot of people ask, how'd you finish them fast? How'd you finish fights quickly, right? Notice I'm going to pause whenever it lands here. Vastroki's over here on this left side. You see CRR, Aqua, and the other team is contesting all over. I'm just gonna play this clip, right? Just wait to see how quickly this is over. See T-Chips down, Vovi down, and Sanji's down. The fight's over, right? So it's a quick early game fight, okay? So look, from CRR's POV, perfect drop to get a floor spawn, gets a weapon because of it too, and that allows him the first elimination, right? Because it's a great drop and obviously hits the shots at the same time. Aqua, exact same thing. T-Chips has a gun, but look, Aqua does not miss. And Sanji goes down at the same time because Vastroki ended up landing far away, as we mentioned earlier, grabbing a chest, getting an AR, and making that final cleanup, right? It's just like every single one of the players had the perfect drop and obviously had very, very good aim too, and they could just clean this fight up so quickly from then on out.
Yeah, these are the minute things that you need to get right at the highest level, you know. And in the case of Vovi versus Cianet, Vovi was running up he was looking around for a floor spawn, right? You can't afford for that to be happening at the highest level. If you're jumping into an arena game with me, then you know that's gonna be all right. Maybe you'll get away with it. I won't hit the shot, but against the likes of CR Aqua for Stricky, you're sitting in 8th place here. You've got to do better. You've got to do better. Now, Floki Clement and the Simpsons, who talked about not playing low there, still, you know, they are up there in 1st place. They still had a decent game without, you know, maybe necessarily getting the top 3 or anything. But I'm really interested to see how this plays out now, because of course you have Karmas and Daya and Aware sitting there in 3rd. You know, are they going to stay here? Will they be able to keep on having these games where they are beating Aqua's team out on high?
Definitely. And to be honest, I want to actually quickly go back to Floki Clement to Zipdos, because one of the trends we saw yesterday in the round 3 was the fact that anytime they got to endgame, they got double-digit eliminations, right? But one of the biggest things right now, exact same thing. 2 games, they've got a 4th and a 3rd there, 10 elims both times. So they are absolutely fragging out every single time they get there. If you actually quickly look over to the second page here, we've got Mark, Ori, and Artist as well. As I remember, team we talked about last game who did so well, 3rd place with 6, now ended up placing 20th with a single elimination. So, you know, like you said, it's got to be those teams who are being super, super consistent. Maybe some of these less experienced teams just might not be able to do that.
Guys, you know, we talk about the victory royale, its importance, but consistency, being able to hit those top numbers, double-digit elims, placing those top 5s, these things will add up over time. That was just game 2. We're getting ready to gear up for game number 3, so let's kick it back on the Battle Bus. We got Clay, we got Shy Wager, we got game number 3. Over to you.
Lots of different factors, Zeke, definitely. But the biggest one is to be able to play your own game. And Clay, Floki, Clement, Deceptos, they're doing that better than anyone else right now.
And I think Levin said it really well. No one's going to be able to play that mid to low ground game better than the runs we're seeing right now, because everyone's going for that pop-off, hey, I want that high victory royale. And we see that a lot with Europe, right? We see the want for the high ground win, the want for that dominant, hey, I'm going to go out 10, 11 eliminations and get the dub on high ground. But then you have a team that's just like, oh, you know what? We're just going to chill low ground. We're going to go for these elims. If they come to us, they come to us. And that's what Clement, Floki, and Deceptos are doing. But okay, wait a minute. Hen changing it up a little bit.
I think they've been splitting a little bit of that south side this entire time on the map. Was a team who was going to be dropping here, but ended up not going all the way to round 4. So we'll see Hen claiming up this entire middle spot, including a little bit of greediness towards Misty. I like it, but Floki, Clement, Deceptos not going to be able to do much to kind of say anything about it. They have to focus on their spot, their zone. Fastroki, actually, I mean, we had this entire breakdown from Reese about how to end a fight fast. Looks like they might have been tuning into the broadcast there, Clay, because Fastroki's been going down at least. Maybe even another player from Aqua's trio. That Boney Burbs fight is going to last a long time this time.
I'm surprised. I haven't seen Fastroki go down that quickly, and CRR gonna go down as well. So now it's all on the shoulders of Aqua to 1v3 clutch it up. And again, that's an awkward fight. Boney is again one of those POIs that it just doesn't happen quickly, in my opinion. Yes, Reese did a beautiful breakdown of it, but if you're not setting it up the way Reese talked about, you're gonna go down like Aqua, and now they're out. 8th place gone.
I mean, it was a very good breakdown if you guys did watch it. Basically, or if you're just tuning in for this game, Aqua and CRR got into positions to actually interrupt the path the other team was taking, T-Chips and company, and got early weapons faster, literally in the first 5 seconds, had great pistols, and got to basically stop the game before it started. I would assume on the side of T-Chips, they probably spread out a bit more and got a little bit less greedy, took their time with an off spawn fight, ended up maybe getting a little bit luckier than Aqua's team off spawn on the weapons and whatnot too. For Snazy, Sky, and Nate, looks like this time Caddy Corner will not be free. It'll be a little bit more feisty. They'll have to make it out alive after a fight off spawn.
God, is one of my favorite POIs to watch and fight in early, just because there's so many unique opportunities. You can use those teleporters to go wherever you want. You can find shots outside of these angles that you normally wouldn't be able to. And I like the way Snazy Sky and Nate have hunkered down. They said, look, we've already got one of you. If you want to get the rest of us, you've got to come to us.
Definitely. And Karma as well kind of has that entire type of, you know, nuance backwards. He's actually going to be pushing other people himself off of that last win, picking up an entire squad that actually took out Aquas all the way at Boney Burbs. As that fight is breaking down, Snazy's trying to close out on this one, gets a knock on the Tobe, goes for the big finish. This is ultimate defense, right? This is one of the best squads at playing out, as I said last game, their set game plans. And if it's about surviving off spawn, Snazy, Skite, and Nate, if it's a challenge like this, they can definitely do it.
Bag is the one, and I think one of the easiest to do it in as well. You just, especially if you're the squad that lands at the main building, you just already naturally have so many more materials than the team that does land at the gas station. So you already set yourself up in a position to just hunker down and wait if there's a team that can test you. They also are going to get zoned, but moving over, we see another one of these satellite dishes being contested. It's going to be Air Kid and company trying to take down a team who is going very aggressive. We see another player coming in from Steamy. Lazen got a player on top of him. Is going to be able to get out. His teammate there to help him out, but no, down to 1 HP. No! Almost able to clutch it up. Not able to do so. Artisan going to fall now as well. What can Blackie find? Can they find Mark? No, not going to be able to do so. Mark going to take him down. It's actually, I think, going to go over as well. Onyx, a third party, says, hey, wait a minute. I see this fight. I know there's only one player left. Let me go in. Let me be a little bit greedy. And now's the time to do it.
Might think that everyone's down, but no, he finds a knocked body to the nose. There's at least one straggler surviving in this fight. It was actually Blackie's team that got the first knock to start things off. So Mark with a huge defense on the 2v3. It was Ori that went down to Blackie as things started. Shizo comes in to hold things down, and then the big limousine rolls by with the high rollers and Mustache and Malabuka ready to chop down the whole fight, find out where Mark is, pick up some free points, and get 2 teams worth of loot.
And I love this from them. They say, you know, we're in 4th place, but we're an aggressive team. We're not going to stop playing the way we want to just because of the placement that we have overall. And that's what Fortnite is. If you're getting to where you are by being aggressive and it's working out for you, keep doing your game until you have to play the tournament management game, until it's that last game and you have to say, hey, you know what? I've got to just stay alive. And speaking of that, can Mark do that? That player just barely missed them. And somehow, they didn't even see him.
He had a free pump to take, but nah, Mustache was too close by. They get a launch pad out of it, a lot of meds as well in terms of shields and some ammunition. Not the craziest in terms of upgrading the loadout. It does have a very good in terms of, you know, consumables, a buff to this trio. Move it in. They get to basically roll in with Steamy and Dirty Docs inside their inventories. They'll also want to be looking out for the last game winners, Karma, Aware, and Zendaya. Off of that big fight at Boney and off of their spawn as well. They're probably going to have insane loadouts. I want to see exactly how many eliminations they're rolling in with as well. And who else is there as a big focus? I mean, Floki, Clement, Decepto is obviously in the mid game. Going to be huge on their position. Here's Zendaya, who got the last elimination in the fight inside Boney. We're going to take a little bit of damage, probably from just trying to shoot at people. They're also moving really open side Risky. And you were praising this spot on the map entirely, Clay, right? Last game. This is a very good spot to be in. You have control whether you want to go, you know, if it's a north zone or a south zone, towards the left side down to Sludgy or towards the mountains. Looks like these guys are going to be moving through Weeping very soon.
And nobody landed here. Nobody rotated through here. And they've already got 2 elims. They've already got a lot of loot, and now they're rotating through an unlooted area. This is even better.
Hear themselves too. Lots of elims in that first zone. Lots of elims in general on certain teams as well. You know, Snazy is up there with the double digits back to back. We know Floki, Clement, Deceptos is also there with the 10-10. each on their own. I mean, it's huge.
And for reference, no team had multiple games with 10 eliminations in first qualifier. Snails has already got 2.
That's Smokey Clement de Santos actually that has the 2 in terms of double-digit elims.
My apologies there, but and this zone I really like, because I want to focus here on Karma, Zendaya, and Arwa, as they are going to be one of the only trios we've seen actively get the chance to rotate through the convergence and reap the benefits. Again, they've rotated from their initial draw spot to Risky to now the convergence. That's 3 POIs worth of loot. They are set up so well, and 4 considering they rotated into Boney as well.
And the big thing too of being inside the convergence, we were talking about it a little bit in the pre-show. It's like an all-in POI. There's not much to get in terms of, you know, mats here too much, or to kind of refresh or take certain positions overall. You can't really replace anything. Once you're building here, you're building. But the big thing is, if you catch someone off guard, you can really go all in and know exactly where they're moving. Every time you build, look at the juxtaposition and color even, right? It's these dark builds versus the vibrant purple, the naturalness of this POI. It's very easy to track exactly where everyone is. Whereas in there, Karma are not going to be able to hide. They have to fight.
And in all honesty, this is probably the worst POI for me to fight in, because I can't see purple. and any of these outfits that players are wearing that may blend in with purple, or if they're red and green, it's just all the same there to me. So if I was this trio, I would get out. I would say, no, thank you. I tell my trio we are avoiding the convergence at all costs, because it's just not a POI that I would want to fight in because of that, as well as, again, it's awkward. It reminds me of some of those aim trainer maps that you would have those zombies bounce back and forth upon, and you would try to hit them out of the air.
Oh, it's definitely the same vibe, and no wonder I never see you going for zone fights either then, right? Purple hues, not worth. Keeps the game sense up though. You get to be center zone all the time, Clay. Mad respect.
Gotta focus on getting center zone, and you see how powerful it is.
Yeah, no, definitely for a lot of the teams that are playing here so far. Best thing has just been being comfortable, getting to play your own game. But the other side of that too, right? If we're talking about that play style, obviously first place, Floki Clement de Santos is who to focus on for it. The issue with playing consistent is that if you miss that one game, it's basically chalked your whole performance of holding first place. You want to make sure that there is at least one pop-off game that, yeah, you're playing consistent, but that consistency leads to a VR. Because if you do end up slipping up, like, you could just have 6 good games, but that's not as likely. If you do end up slipping up, then you kind of go into the top 5. You're not taking home first for that week.
Luckily for them, they've already got a 14-point lead, so they can still kind of edge that lead out. But when KPI, Crow, and Diox here are having the same consistency, in fact, both games got 6th place and both games got 7 eliminations. So both second place and first place are playing the consistent game. Meanwhile, third place, it went from that 20th place with 2 elims to first place with 13.
Yeah, they have a little bit more momentum with the win and 13 as well. So, I mean, this game, that third place team, Karmas, took out Aqua too. Wow, Malabuka, lethal on the beam. But he gets returned with almost the same amount of damage. We'll see how they look. For Malabuka's squad, that the second game, they have 4 elims still. So they're kind of looking in the same spot right now. Picked up Heart, an early team, but then went down in 12th overall. So things didn't go the best way inside the 7th zone, the 8th zone. This time though, Pro and Malabuka, they're gonna collide. Might be for Surge, might be a little bit of a box fight. And with those Firefly jars popping in, Clay, this is definitely go the whole mile.
And this is 2nd versus 4th place right now. This is such a huge fight in the standings. They're below. 2nd place needs this damage. They've got one more Firefly to throw, but with them all in wood, it would be disadvantageous if they did. Siki KPI trying to go for the shots, as well as Diox going from the other side. They're trying to put this pinch on them, but this team just continuing to back away. Malabuka, much more experienced in fighting this situation. It seems like this is where they thrive, and it's going to be there. They're going to find the shots, but Diox can go down really low. KPI goes for the bait, goes for the trap set up. KPI will get out, will drop away there. Deox still alive. It's going to be Connor going down the feed to Nate there. There's a lot of damage coming through. They put a lot back, but look at how much they've taken. And again, Malabuka, Versace, and Shizo, they are just better at these fights.
Every time you're trying to attack this team, I see them as kind of like an armadillo. They'll just move in, roll up, and there's no penetrating the shell whatsoever. I mean, Crow, Josie, and Deox are trying, but it's not enough. They've got the Surge. They have everything they need. They can just let you simmer. We saw it in game 1 as well. They let every team around them fight first, but Crow might strike at their eyes fast. And boom, Hosey on the backside also is landing huge pumps. They're going to end up going down, but at a huge cost. This side of Massage and Malabuka. No, not actually. I thought Shizo might have gone down. Even when I think they're doing damage, it's not enough. If these guys had trading cards as a team or something, their defense stats would be like at the 90s, maybe all the way over at triple digit 100, because I've never seen them, you know, torn apart inside a mid-game fight.
And just like that, they're back. They're back to full HP. They're back healed up. If they want to fight again, they can. And that is so huge because they dropped 3 places. Again, they were in first and dropping down. They said they're not okay with that. They're not. No, we want to go for that first place. And we talk about being consistent. We talk about pop-off games. They had one with that first game, that victory royale. Then ended up getting 12th, which is still not bad, but not enough for them. And you see, it doesn't matter. Hey, we're still going to keep going for aggressive eliminations, and we're still going to go push for it. But what's going to hurt them, as I say that, I'm going to take it back immediately, because look at the rotation they're getting right now. They're already ahead of the game on this side. Nobody else over there. Just that one other team shooting at them now, but they're already in zone. It's not an issue. They got this team following behind. But look, they're set up so well.
I think the only way you can ever stop this team is kind of off spawn. Savage and Dreader Refsguard have done it for a few seasons. This time, Benji, Savage, and Dreader waiting for them, seeing exactly what will happen inside those finals. But I feel like at the same time, if they're looking this good when they have the loot in the mats, maybe it'll help them off spawn inside those finals. Still, very good position all the way on the corner side of a mountain at Caddy Corner. I'm wondering where Stacey is specifically as well, because this will be their home zone that they're playing. With the third one locking in, Clay. I mean, rotations are the name of the game. If you're caught on a bad position right now, you explained it last game. Looking up a mountain, very scary, and 10 times more difficult to move past.
And where are Floki, Clement, and Deceptos? Again, they've got a little bit more of a cushion now. It's only a 3-point difference there between second and third, and fourth tied as well. But that's still a good amount of room for them to work with. But I want to know where they are. As we see now, this is going to be third place. Zendaya, Karma, and Awar up here on the satellite dish just south of Craggy. No one's claimed that mountain. It seemed like it seemed pretty open. And honestly, I would rather be where Malabuka was than right down there. Look at how many trios are contested on the edge of that zone, Chayo. And with this zone, it's going to go northeast. Everyone's going to have a very, very hard time making that rotation.
It's going to be very good for the side of Malabuka. Should be fine for Karma, Awareness, and Dare right now, too, because they're going to move by on higher elevation. They don't even need to see anyone at all as they rotate. They'll just pick up a few mats and be on their way. Their issues will come right on that zone line. Those 3 teams battling at the back. Already one person knocked. That fight will get cold and frosty fast. At Caddy 2, no base is fully complete and kind of safe right now. Clement, Floki, and Sliptos, they're going to be chilling here. A little bit of a mouthful, but the position is as strong too. Hen's going to be right above them. Both teams very strong. Looking to see if they can turn this spot into a very good game.
This is also one of the biggest disadvantages is they're very close to that mountain. They're very close to that cliffside. And they luckily, I think they have enough room with it. But if they've got to go up, they've got to go up through Vadil. They've got to go up through Noah Riley. Those are not 2 players I would ever want to fight at all in my entire career of Fortnite. And because they're just so good at that box-to-box, they're so good at fighting in this moment right now. With this zone moving just now, I'm intrigued to see where Deceptos, Clement, and Floki are in terms of that Storm Surge, as we see Joe now going to fall Mongrel. his teammate, unfortunately. And we'll wait on that. It says 27 above, but I doubt that they're going to be any much more higher than that. 148, so they should be fine. But it doesn't seem like anybody else around them wants them to just sit.
It's a very unique position at this point in the game. That big mountain you're talking about, the fact that no one's on it, it's kind of like a unpassable section in a video game, right? Sometimes you hit those invisible walls and it makes you turn around. That's what this mountain is like right now. It's not inside the code of this end game just yet. It's DLC that's not unlocked, because it'll be foolish to go all the way up there, burn all those mats, and not have the zone pull right there right now. The main story we're focused on, none of that additional content we're looking at, you know, it's not chapter 3. We're still in chapter 2 right now. We're still in this game, in this zone. It's all about the positions closer to the ground that aren't going to cost you too many mats. Look at the build that Skype, Nate, and Snazy are shooting at. It's just about 4 boxes. People are being very minimalistic with their bases right now because they're going to have to move across so many mountains, so many valleys. And if the zone does lock in south, maybe that DLC expansion moves over to the mountain. No, it still stays locked. The story will not go there for the moment. We'll go to what seems like almost unclaimed space. The majority of the south side of the zone should move there in just a second. The north should be a little bit more of the dead side. I want to know which trio is the one that's still there right now and has it for free, basically. It looks like people are going to have to hike, Clay. This is going to be a crazy zone to play off of. Those mountains, they're tough.
And our high ground team, our staple high ground team, reminder, is not in this game. They got eliminated very early on. There's no Aqua versus Karma in this game. It's going to be Karma versus somebody else's. Fury, Link, and Siberia Jake just barely above Surge, maybe looking. And again, this is, again, I wouldn't want to fight that, but Vidil and Janice are going to be below Surge. They've got to be the aggressive one, and shot's going to go through. That's going to be 100 damage for Vidil. They will be above, trying to get any sort of remnants of that loot there, trying to get into the box as well. 196, they should be fine, but now as a solo, what can Vidil find? The only thing he finds is a shotgun shot to the face. He is going to be able to make it up, but no, I spoke too soon. They go down just with hit as well.
Truly tragic. No chance for these guys to move over from Caddy Corner, but how much did it actually affect Floki, Clement, and Deceptos? Mongrel, Vino, ready to play all the way up top. Where's the third teammate is the question. Fury's also kind of left by himself. Link is somewhere nearby. If Aqua's not there in half and half, will definitely be new characters ready to fill the void, take the space, and control the game. Fury with a big shot, but now this team's aware of exactly where he is. Another one. He's getting too much for free. Isn't even building on the backside because they can't afford the mats, Clay. This is a desperate position.
Ready for the DLC expansion part 3 right now. No! This is even better. This is the twist in the main story, because look, you're right, we go off the mountain and there's only one way we can go back from there, Chayo, and every single direction is up a mountain. So everyone right now knows, hey, we go down, we have to have a way to get back up. They cannot use a launch pad here to go down, because if they do, going up, they have to waste every single one of their materials.
Thing is, though, if you don't have that many mats, or if you just want to be very greedy, going straight for low ground might be the play, especially if you're already on a lower layer. For Clement, Floki, Deceptos, that might be the case. Big siphon coming in for Clement. Gets a few more mats, he's maxed. And Aspect splashes to maybe keep his team alive. No, Deceptos misses a few of those watery hits, but Clement will be there to stay alive for the end game. Everyone now in the air. Mongrel and Vino, the highest in elevation. They should be waiting for someone else to touch down first and then take Hyde away. Scram is fighting with Flois inside the backside of the storm. They pick up eliminations, but people have already touched down, Clay. They've kind of hit the surface of the moon, so to speak. It's a different world here right now, a planet of a game that's completely just not the same in variety, and Clement has to go all the way ahead. It was Floki who had all the HP, but he basically allowed this man to stay alive by himself. Can he do the impossible and win in the most impossible zone?
And I'm glad it's Clement that ended up, because they had more materials, they had more loot to their name. Yes, they didn't have as much HP, but just look, they have more room to operate with. That's the nice AR spray there from Clement, is able to do it. And I was wrong, we're not going up, but a beautiful use. No! Ooh, barely gonna catch himself there on the edge of that zip line. It's so strong, but you have to be careful when falling down in Fortnite. Everybody's building out, everybody's gonna catch you. And look who's on the high ground. It's Shiki and company there, but Reason, Tason, and Chapix just slowly floating their way on down. Reminds me of seasons ago, chapters ago of Fortnite, where everybody would launch pad down, everybody would fall down from these. 14 above for Clement, though, does have a safe haven for now, but there's only one spot now where this can go. It is up. It is going to be up. Clement is staying in a cone for whatever it's worth. They can't stay alive. They're going to go down. Karma falls now as well.
Look at the difference. Two different games of Fortnite just happening here at the same time. Jaku Ristretto all the way on height against Fork, Chicky, and Jimkey. Scramflowus and how they've kind of went all the way down and taken the highest possible layer of the low ground. Malabuka is also still alive. Looking to maybe still first place as Daya's gone down in front of him. Chapek's also taken out by MXR. They're getting elims after elims, and boom, one tag on the Jaku gets him the big elimination and a refresh on all the materials in the perfect spot, taken away. Super ultimate height. This is going to be a sick duel performance to watch as things go back up the mountain.
13 eliminations, now 14 eliminations, and there's still 16 more in the game for them to get. It doesn't even matter where they end up, first, second, third, or out of this game. With that many points, they're going to catapult into first. The question is, how many points can they get? Tayson gonna go down, so now it's all up to Chapek and Reason to try to be able to find something, find any points there. Here it is, the zone's finally going up the mountain. If you've played Ultimate Height, here is your victory. If you can just get there, they don't have a lot of build, so this is where it's gonna be concerning. Scram, Nate operating, Reason popping off, getting eliminations after eliminations, but look at Malabuku, look at his teammate Shizo there. They are doing so well, operating in tandem. It doesn't matter. It seems like they just have everywhere where they want them.
One of the most recent refreshes in a launch pad. They're getting ready for the big surprise pop, or maybe they're happy with the elim so far and just want to get as many as possible. Don't even care about the win. That might be the case. Fork, Jimkey, and Chicky are going to stop any launches all the way up to space. Malabuka will try his best to find footing, but no one can hit natural low ground. No one can find a way to live and get first place. They'll be strung high and dry. Malabuka builds up a bit, lands a huge shot, and can't get the finish. Huge eliminations on the side of them, though. 14 as the game wraps up. It's Chicky, Jimkey, and Fork that touch back down to earth and win game number 3.
Which is a great game for them. Again, 15th place coming in. Ended up, I believe, on 70 points, maybe 69 points there. But the story of that game, and it seems like the story of the games so far, is Mustach, Malabuku, and Shizo doing so unbelievably well. And that's what I love to see. This FNCS, it seems like some of these younger players, some of these newer players, right? And they're not new to Europe, but newer to the audience, are just doing so well.
Oh, definitely. If game 3 had a tagline, a newspaper headline, it would just be chaos. I want to know exactly what went down on the desk for this one, because that was a very big game.
My goodness, what is going on in these games? I jokingly said this at the top of the show in EU. These games would be fire, and Europe never disappoints me. I'm sorry, Malabuka, Shizo, Mustach, 14 eliminations?
It's laughable. It's honestly laughable. Like, I don't get it. You know, we bigged them up after game 1 because game 1 was so great, and we know they can do this, of course. Like, they have the skill level. It's why everybody fears them so much. But to then actually go out and do it, it's insanity. You know, you can't even. What do I need to analyze? Man goes out in game and gets eliminations. You know, like that's all it is to it. Look, a brilliant win from the high ground team. I think we sort of expected it to some degree, right? Where like they were so high up, you're sort of thinking, well, you gotta go down at some point, and you better hope when you're going down it's because you're winning the game. And you know, it did end up being that way for them. But yeah, so many eliminations there from Malabuka's team. That's insane.
Yeah, unlike me, like they weren't lagging at all, right? They were clearly managing to hit every single shot, right? They were absolutely, like, realistically having 14 elims at that point. If they weren't still as like a full duo and they had like their full trio still in this, they could have easily capitalized and managed to hit, you know, even close to 20. I was thinking it could have been the 20 bomb going in there at that point as well.
I really did believe that was going to happen. I really did believe, you know, Clay was like, wow, they have 14 elims. There's 16 people left in this game. My heart of hearts was like, dog, let's get anime with it. Let's full send it. It did not go that way, but still a top 3 placement for sure is very nice to see. Now, Levin, we have pulled some clips here after game number 3. There's a few things that you want to talk about before we jump back aboard the battle bus. Let's clue the Fortnite fam in.
Well, yeah, I wanted to talk about Floki, Clement, and C2S because, as you can see, they've been so great so far today. Of course, the last game didn't go well. We'll address why it didn't go so well, but you can see here something that they've been dealing with below on search, 200 below here in 6th zone, and that's not a great place to be for most teams, but they deal with it incredibly well. As you can see, they all group up and they spray. They're very comfortable in just sitting there as a free and spraying, and the reason why they have this luxury, a lot of teams, you can almost get caught out for that in end games, right? But the reason why they have that luxury is because there's a very, deliberate effort here to make sure that they are on a side of zone where other players aren't going to be there. So, there's no names here, but I'll point it out to you. I'm sure you know who this is. If you wanted to guess what player in all of Fortnite this would
wonder.
be, I wonder who it is. That's not the important bit. The important bit is that they are the team here, right? They are the team on the very edge here, and there's nobody to their right side or their left side, right? Depending on which way you want to look at it. And that is very effective because they know, okay, we ain't got to worry about anybody on that side. We can just fully focus on what's in front of us and use the zone as, almost cover in a way, and just completely focus on the teams and get surged that way, right? And that's one of the things that makes them so good. They've made that conscious effort to do that, and more so the trust they have in this, right? Clement, you can see Clement's top in the front side of zone here. He's making an effort to make sure they have ground. And because Floki knows that Clement's front side, he realizes he has the freedom in the backside of the zone to go for eliminations. He picks up Tayson, and look, he can just go straight back to the top, right? He knows that his teammates are going to make that effort to do that. The trust that they have in each other, the sort of deliberate effort to make sure they put themselves in the best positions to be able to deal with Surge and Endgame is what's made this trio so strong.
Yeah, if you look, actually, they've now just been beaten out because that previous game, like you mentioned, obviously it wasn't massive for them, right? They ended up placing 13th with 3 elims, so not managing to get the top 10 and get the double digits, like I already mentioned. They have in the previous 2 and also in that previous round, but Mustache, Malabuka, and Shizo after that 14 elimination game that we saw there with 3rd place. They have flown themselves up all the way up into 1st, the most eliminations out of anyone and the most placement points. So let's be real, so far they're clearly deserving of that 1st place. Flois, Hellfire, and Scram now down into 3rd after that. Last place placing 4th with 6 elims too. If we move over to the next page, we also see Aqua, CRR, and Frostroki now kind of dipping down into the 12th place after being the 1st team eliminated. In that previous package, I broke down how fast they can end fights in the early game, and in this game, it's completely flipped on them, and they've had the same thing happen to them.
The duality of off-spawn battles, you would call it. Look, these are the things that happen, man. And it's why I'm constantly talking to people about, I get height is so strong and I get it's such a great win condition this season, but another game where it's just another team on height and another team that wins it, right? And similar things when you're contested off spawn, you're doing that kind of thing. Yeah, it could work out for you, but as soon as it doesn't, back to the battle bus.
Back to the battle bus we go, Levin, because it's time. That's right, game number 4 of the FNCS qual number 2 Shy Wager. Clay, over to you.
Clay, it's basically consistency over pop-offs. And I just want to say, too, how good the desk looks today. I mean, these guys are popping with the knowledge, and they're dropping us, between these games. It's huge.
They really are, and just, it's great to be back with that. There's so much level of knowledge all around, and it's so different from each region of how everyone breaks it down, and I love just getting to interact with all of them. And now, speaking of interacting, Deceptus, Clement, and Floki have... Oh, I was just going to say no one around them, but Floki going to take a little damage, a little early Storm Surge tags, and a team that's really made a name for themselves during this qualifier alone is Malabuku, Mustache, and Saizo, as they have played so phenomenally well. And coming into this, and I feel like it would have been fair from a lot of people to assume, hey, that first game they played, yeah, it was kind of just a pop-off. Yes, you had one pop-off there. You looked good. Can they do it again? They proved, yeah, we can do it again.
This time might have not even been a win, but the elims, the control they had of the game, it's huge. As soon as you put them between a full team, and there's nothing else really going on, they usually end up winning the engagement. When the third parties get involved, they still have a very good survival rate. We saw that in the first game. We saw it in one of the most difficult zones in Fortnite history that we just watched. Scram, though, he's going to be rolling in. Lazy Lake, uncontested. Snazy had to fight last game. This time, looks like the team is not going to drop in. It was Holmes who was trying to do something to these guys, but they got taken care of very quickly and are now scared to try it again. They'll get to play their own game out, too.
Well, I was going to say my question is where they're going, and it's just back to the lobby, as unfortunately they were eliminated just that quickly. It was that fast. Sky and Snazy took them down, and honestly, that's the best possible thing. If you can take them down before we even hop on board with your POV, that is honestly the biggest W you can do while being contested, because essentially you're uncontested.
Get the free match to get the free medal is huge. Will be Mustache, Malabuka, and Shizo we tune in with taking the lead this game. Sky will be around 6th place. That's the POV we're watching right now. Hopefully get some Boney Burbs updates as well, because that's where all the hot action is game after game. The result of Aqua's fights look to be different from games 1 all the way to 3. And this time he's picking up Sanji. Chip's running away. It's going to be a 1v2. It looks like it's fast Roki, but this fight is on a timer. You know, there's going to be a team rolling in very quickly, probably taking a lot of people. No, it's 3v1 right now, so Aqua should be able to close this out with fast Roki and CRR. But then lots of people are going to be coming in for that third party.
Luckily, if you set up, Boney is one of those POIs that it's very hard to fight into. And as I say that, there's the third party coming in. It's a different team this time, however, as we do see Artist taking down Laze and Blackie going down as well. Did Aura. And I like the immediate teleporter over, but look, they've left one player behind. They've got to be careful. And one thing I wanted to touch on this season that I don't think, and Sundown is one of the biggest proponents of this as well, is the lack of resource denial. They just left a free vending machine that gives free mini shields there for their opponents. Yes, it's a little different because they're actively running away, but we've seen in-game vending machines where players are getting heals, where they're getting these minis, and it's one of those things where it's like, if you just took 2 seconds out of your game to break that, you would deny so much, but this team could not do it. They did not have the opportunity. Launchpad was placed, Aqua trying to use it, trying to take the shot, going for the full box, is gonna get the elimination there onto Fremont. He says, I've boxed you like a fish, but now where are the rest of your teammates? Where are my teammates? Unfortunately, they're gonna be on top of Aqua. Gonna go down a true 2v2, now going to come on through. What can CR, what can Frostroki do? It doesn't look like they can do much. It looks like CR are gonna be the one to do it all. Aqua's still up. Frostroki, I believe, went down just not long ago. CR, one of the best. No, Frostroki's still up, still here. They can still pick up Aqua as well. The Chug Slasher is going to save both of them there. It's going to be a 3v1, and what a beautifully played back and forth by CRR. This is why he's one of the best fighters. This is why he's on this team, because his box fights, his awareness, his prowess is just that good.
He's hitting shots in between frames right there, and if you guys blinked, you missed it. He saved Aqua with that floor edit to get into the fight. It made Aqua's body dodge the finishing charge pump. From the other side of things, that'll be still lost by himself from all sides. Looks like Fast Roki bakes out the paper against the rock, wraps them up, bags them up, and that is a huge bounce back for this team. They rolled in, low HP, not too many masks, not too many specialties inside the inventory. Now they have spicy splashes to work with as they move around the map, and freedom around them too. They know the entire left side is not going to push them anymore. They know they basically have the middle of the map completely free.
And that's the CR I love to watch. That's the CR that I think everyone loves to watch, the confidence. Because for the past couple seasons, we haven't seen that. We haven't seen him fighting confidently. We've seen him take fights. We've seen him go in and make plays, but he was never that confident. And that right there, that was pure and utter just display of, I am better than you. I know I'm better than you. And we saw in the end, in that moment, they were better. Moving over though, Rezon, Tayson, and Chapix in a fight that did disengage out. They are going to be good, but they're set up in a spot where if they need to take this fight, they can, but it's just not advantageous. So I like that they're waiting, but the problem with where they are is nobody else is coming from the north. Nobody's going to be rotating in there. They're not going to get more attacks. They're going to have to rotate into the team that they just put pressure onto.
That's how we see Chapix going all in with a little bit more shields. Popping it for 10 as he knows he's probably going to be fighting more. Meanwhile, our top 2 teams rotating freely to their next section of the game. Looking for any tags inside the first zone. It's so free to get over here. So many people are still moving between POIs. North is almost completely deserted right now, so not going to be much to see over there. Lots of teams will be coming in from that south side. And maybe we go back to Craggy all over again. Yeah, 10-point differential almost 15 actually between these teams. It'll be Shizo at 117 and Asiptos at 104.
They're playing two different games. We see Deox unfortunately go down. Crow, though, gonna get a return elimination. Let's see what they can do. Noah Riley trying to find all the eliminations. And again, one of those players that if they're in your box, they're in your face, you're really not gonna get away. But Deceptos is relaxing. They're chilling out. They know, hey, we play that mid to low ground late game. That's where we're going to find eliminations. They're not worried. But on the other side, look at Mustache, Malabuka, and Shizo. They are going aggressive. They say first place. It doesn't even matter. We want more eliminations. Hop into the box. He's in between every single body. Got to get out. No, he's going to go down. Shizo will not be able to impact this fight much more than that. But look at Diox. Look at KPI. Josie just so low already. If Mustache can get there, if Malabuka can put some backup in, they will take down one, make it back over to a 2v2. No, they take down Diox. They're going to make it a 2v1 after this player goes down. May be able to get away for now. They're getting out of dodge, but already back in their favor. 2v2, they are more healthy. Mustache is hopping in. Malabuka is not there to be found. Josie gonna go down now, a 2v1. This is why they're in first place. They're showing, hey, yes, we got here. We were one of the last teams to qualify in, but that does not matter. That does not mean we don't deserve to be here. The charge is gonna work for him there, but not gonna hit the shots.
Will be a 2v2 they're looking at. Finally get the finish, so now they're a little bit more spacious in terms of how they want to take this fight. They can slow it down a little bit. They can back up, recuperate. Got their wall, but no edits. The team has switched layers here for a little bit. And the rule of fighting mid-game, once it goes past about 30, 40 seconds, you know people are going to be watching, looking around, and waiting for pot shots all the way across the field. I think both teams will trade the opportunity to get those reboot cards. Scroll will drop back down for his teammates in just a little bit. Mustache and Malabuka pick up Shizos, and then they'll be able to move out, get that reboot up, and have a lot of damage moving into the mid game.
I love that. I'm loving everything this team is doing. I'm gonna be honest, because it's a very Europe play style. We've seen it so many times in so many different trios before. It's this confident fight throughout, and I think going back, we saw it last around when Mitro and CR played together, right? When they played duos, they would just go wherever they wanted to. The difference here is that they make it up to in-game. They are there in the in-game all together, and they're doing it with such prowess that if they're in the in-game, it doesn't matter if anybody else is. They're going to get more points than you. They're going to get more elims because they can just fight together. It's like one person playing three different people.
3 different roles at the same time. No, definitely. It's huge. I think one thing, though, for this team is that they're always kind of being pushed or pressured apart and not really responding strong enough to anything that's happening around them. If the zone changes in a weird way, they can't adapt as hard as other teams like Malabuka's, like Floki Clement Deceptos. But if it is a little bit more isolated and it's on their side and they get to control all aspects and the zone's really not the thing messing them up, they have an advantage really in these fights, and you'll see it. They kind of trapped Karma's vehicle right there, shooting it with Janice Vidal and O'Reilly really quickly. Kind of figured out their entire surge type of problems overall. Janice picking up a lot of eliminations so far, moving down from the north side on towards Pleasant Park, and a lot of other things happening beside Craggy Cliffs. They have a good pedestal to lock back in with. I want to tune right back in with Scram, though, to see exactly if that fight blew up like the car would that Karma was driving in. A lot of launch pads available here too. This should be a big perspective too inside game 3. I think one of the things we always kind of gloss over is that for a lot of these teams are on the back end, right? These guys only have 24 points, Clay. This is the game to start catching up and doing things differently. They're on that wavelength already. Janice also back up to 100 HP. If they want to come back, it has to be a top 5 from this team with at least double-digit elims.
I would agree, and you see with the way they position themselves, they can find these players that are not doing so well. CRR gonna get knocked down. This is a great rotation. Yeah, they didn't have a lot of mats coming in, but that's, again, one of the betterments of this crash site being here for Coral, for anybody rotating over from Believer, as it just looks so good now because you've got a lot more builds to farm up. You've got a lot more opportunities to find loot. Moving over, though, Fork gonna be down here in this trio. They did pick up that victory royale, but now at a disadvantage, both below Surge and without a player.
Lots of teams struggling similar to them. CRR versus, I think, the Deceptos team is happening right now. There's 2 casualties in that fight. Here comes Crow right back at it again. Is there a round 2 I didn't know about? Is this the Octagon? What's going on? The Siptos, Floki, Clement, they're not going to be exactly inside that fight. They're going to be towards another for now, but Malabuka is going to be close by towards the northern side. That fight almost crashed together. It looks like they might have wrapped up what looks like Aqua's team completely as they move away. I want to go back over to that side and see what's up.
It's back and forth fights. Yes, it is continuing there. Malabuku going to get shots there onto Josie. And again, it doesn't even matter that the zone is here. They want to fight. They want to be aggressive, now deciding to disengage. They realize, hey, it's a little bit too much of a deal. Somehow going to go down to the other side of the map, just northwest of here. Janice going to go down there to Chapix. That's a big takedown as well for them. Vadil, Janice going down. I can only assume Noah O'Reilly is soon to follow there as the Siptos is getting straight upon. They have enough matches. This should not be an issue, but zone once again pulling to the north. This is all set up for Chapix, but look at where Malabuku, Mustache, and Strizo have set up. They can just hold Crow, Deox, and Josie out. They can grab all of these eliminations, and when momentum is already on your side, 3 more eliminations, it's just gonna add more fuel to that fire.
There's our fast Roki Aqua. So both these fights finally converging on the same side. The Sipto's kind of on the hunt, but they don't want to go all the way towards the zone to move back in towards the center. Mustache, Shizo, Malabuka do not want Crow's Trio to come back inside, but you can see the challenges they're about to face. They'll have good mass the whole way through. Malabuka does spot out, but looks like Fast Roki moving in towards the backside. They both see each other as these trees are falling and bills have to be placed. Hydro getting knocked. Noah O'Reilly. It's like a 4-way fight there. I think I just saw Spam take a little knock, and they were beside Karma the last time, and Karma's taking out Podesize. So there's some crazy stuff going down towards the middle side of the zone, and then it's a survival game towards the south side. Very sneaky. Anything can just explode at any moment. Very spaced out. We see Crow's team on the minimap at the bottom right. They're all the way on the right there. Those 3 arrows kind of gotten out of the zone. They're chilling for now.
I like that Malabuku went back in the zone to grab those heals up. It's just free. There's no one around you. It's really going to have any view as they take a truck. Look, it's just a free rotation. And look at that zone. This is one of those zones where, while Craggy is safe, it's not going to be for long. That half in, half out has just a very unlikely chance of pulling to it. Yet we have got so many trios there. And I think that's why, as we do see Chicky going to fall there with Jimkey, they go down 9th place out of the game. This is going to be a hard one for a lot of these trios. If they're not making their way in from Craggy now, I don't see him lasting very long.
Definitely be a lot harder to move as the zone closes in. A lot of these south side rotators, the last minute ones like Malabuka, the top right perspective, if you can focus on that real quick, it'll be very tricky for them to roll in. Looks like Josie actually ends up picking apart Pinkay as he moves in, so big refresh from them. You saw how fragmented they were once Malabuka got one of those knocks inside the fight. They're gonna be buffed up. It's gonna be very tricky. Every decision these guys make kind of dictates how the rest of the entire server of EU has to play today. In first place, have a few elims in this game too. The more they further the lead, the harder it is for any other team to kind of stay inside that top 5.
And the charge is such an interesting weapon, and we've seen both the advantages and we know the advantages of it, but we've really seen a lot more disadvantages today, especially from trios that have it still up in that last moment, right? We've seen it with Malabuku not able to hit a lot of the shots and just being out pressured there by the pump, but where they've got to go, every single person in Craggy has to move out. Tayson, Chapix, and Rezon going to be some of the first to do it. This is a great opportunity. You see already setting up, they can continue to hold, but oh, they got to keep going. That zone a little bit further away than I initially thought. Snazy picking up another elimination. They need to keep going. I mean, they're what, 6th place right now? You don't want to be 6th place in this qualifier.
It'll be super tough. Tidy and Tayson, both the ones who are kind of inside that top 10, inside the equation every single time. And for Tayson, when it was a Craggy, it was a top 2 overall. I mean, him, Chapix, Reason landing here, obviously, his hometown. And they know exactly how mid-game operates inside all these zones. They also have a lot of experience winning an endgame inside some of the lower rounds overall. In the set lobby, though, Clay, this will be the ultimate test. A second chance they have now to fix the mistakes they made in game 1. All of this, right? Picking apart a position, looking to stay safe, managing the mats is fine. It's about what happens once they get towards that end game. Last time Aqua was doing a lot on height, got interrupted by the Loop Boys, and had a chance to win overall, but they couldn't against, I believe it was Malibuca in that first one, but this time it'll be a little bit more different. Aqua and Fazoki CRR aren't really in a position to get height. That might change if we blink.
Definitely.
Everyone's kind of, they're playing a little bit more conservative.
It will, and I want to see that from Aqua, because I've always thought one of Aqua's downfalls is their stubbornness, which is okay to have as a competitive player, but at some point you need to realize I cannot always go for high ground. And I know telling Aqua not to go for high ground is a big task. That is their playstyle. They've played it every single season that I've ever watched them, and it's done so well. But this season, like Levin said, you don't have to have it to win. You really don't. We've seen so much more come from low ground. And yes, while you may not win the game on low ground, if you get second place with 12 elims, fifth place with 12 elims, high ground means nothing.
If they get to play their game, though, they can hit those 15 plus the VR, plus the momentum of just having height. So I understand why they're trying to push it, but high ground's kind of evolved over time to be a process more so than something to just control the whole time. So we'll see if they can butt their head in maybe slightly later, the 7th to 8th zone. And as we're watching, Floki, Clement, Deceptos, these guys not going to be absolutely topped off on Surge just yet, it looks like. Nah, they're up now, 136. It's looking good, but they did have a little bit of a scare starting off this zone. Malibuca going down, fully eliminated. Unfortunate, so is Reason. That's a full finish by Vino. So I'm not sure what happened on the west side of this zone, but anyone coming in from Craggy might have caught a little bit of sickness on position, on rotation, and then got taken out.
And that's probably the biggest member of the trio to take down. Malibuca seems to be the driving force, seems to be the one making the calls, being the aggressive one, and them being down, I really want to keep a close eye on how they're going to operate there with just Mustache and Shizo up, because I think it's going to be a little different. But look, Vino going down, Hin, Refscard, and Trulix claimed the high ground this time around, but low ground still operating well. CR, Aqua, and Fashoki not even looking for it. They're going to get Mustache. It's only going to be Shizo left there. Aqua taking down first place. What a game Deceptos, Loki, and Kamlik could have if they had another pop-off like they did before.
17 points, I think, separated them from second all the way to first. Mustache finally taken out, but Shizo still surviving inside those builds. All these guys have to do is keep it low key. 6 zone not even moving just yet, but it seems like we're watching the 9th right now with how boxed in these teams are.
Everyone's gonna breathe for a moment right now. It's gonna pull away from everybody. Not a single soul is safe. Launchpad's dropped over. This is the zone where everybody, if they have a launchpad, is looking to use it, even if they have those max materials, because right now you're pretty safe using it. But the issue with where Deceptos, Loki, and Clement are is, look, there's not a lot of free area, and if they go too high, if they soar too close to that sun, they're going to go down. And speaking of going down, Flo is trying to take down somebody there as everybody's shooting back at Flo as they're going to use that launch pad, and taking the launch pad with 25 HP, Flois really has to dodge. It's actually going to land inside of a box with somebody, may be able to get out, and I think they did just in time.
Our server has to move towards the other side. Basroki Aqua going to be one of the last to move. Joe and Mongrel all the way up in the sky. Joe gets bopped in the head. All his shield gone in an instant. I think that might have been Hen's beam, and it's still chasing it all the way from high ground. Trulix and Refsguard, they land first. Hen playing security guard, as now they fully get secured all the way towards the top side. Trulix will try to heal up. A big jump from Hellfire Flows and Scram. They're still rolling in. Ooh. Big harpoon to the pump shot combination. And he gets a nice elimination, now fully refreshing those materials, fully getting the damage for Surge as well. What a turn of events as Hellfire Flows and Scram find some freedom in these builds.
Keeping the team's dream alive all by themselves. Says, I'll get the Surge, don't worry, just follow behind me. Helnada, though, getting tagged out from above. Want to point out that Hinge trio is one of the only 2 teams to improve their placement and number of elims in each game.
Check it out right now, though, all the way on height. It is Aqua Fast Roki waiting towards the top side. Shizo now by himself, the person who went down first in all these fights. He's still alive. We thought the trio was gone. From 128, they jumped to 140, and he's working it like Stacey did with Shreddo. His feet clipped apart, and now box to box. He looks for the next shot. 108 with an AR spray. He makes it work. 5 elims, and he's still alive. Moving up towards the low ground. Shizo, what can you do next? This is you just making your team stress-free for the next game. Another Harpoon dive, and he dodges the whole team, but not for free. Finally taken out, but man, he got so many points to keep that first place very far ahead.
And just the 9 points as well from second place, who I can barely see in this game as they fall down. Look at Hen, Rescard, and Trulix on the high ground looking to find anything. Deceptos, though, elimination in defeat. They're looking for more. This is where their points start to come in. This is where their eliminations rain in. Hen trying to rain down, but Shio only 17 bullets. There's not a lot you can do. Yes, you have the Harpoon. Yes, you can find more, but it's just not there.
Loki's still getting a few. Deceptos now by himself. Big smart Josie. I think he might be the last alive so far. Don't see his teammates. He's all the way in the middle of those builds. Yes, big game on height as well for Hen. They need to just come back at 17 points. It's not enough just to survive. 130 points for Deceptos. Clement's still alive on the backside somewhere. And yes, Floki did get taken out. Now Clement absolutely cut in half, even more as he drops towards 30 HP. Aqua Fast Roki been taken down, so the height retake is not there either. Deceptos has everything though, Clay, in his arsenal. The builds, the launch pads, and now the zone ticks as well. He's kind of near second height though, and he finally gets found. Down to 23 builds, has to make something work, and he's still staying on the same layer.
Surviving so well, getting so many points, trying to find anything they can. Any sort of reprieve is going to pop. The Big Shield, no, decides against it, is going to go just a little bit further into zone, trying to find any sort of players around his zone. Is going to continue to pull away. They take a lot of damage trying to get the pump shot, and that's going to be it. They're going to go down. They made the decision too late, but going out in 5th place, that's going to be another great game for them. And Trulix and Refscar trying to come back into this. We talked about them being such dominant players, and hey, they have not had the game that they want to. This could be their game, taking a lot of damage onto the enemy players. They want every single elim. Joe gonna take Shadow away though. Refsguard knows, hey, we've got to drop down. We don't have to stay ultimate high ground. These are old builds. Joe now will fall down at 3v3 an ultimate test. Who is going to win it? Will it be high ground yet again, or will low ground pull something out? Will it be Dan, Loki, and Maramba? Will they be able to find something? But it just seems awkward. No, Hen is gonna go down. Dan down very low as well. Maramba trying to make something happen as Loki going for the push. Refsguard says no. Where are you pushing? Back to the lobby. You're gonna go. We'll get the siphon. Where's Maramba? What can they do? Refsguard trying to get in his zone, trying to find the last player. They do. No, it's Dan. Maramba is still somewhere there. He's still up. They got 12 elims.
Position is the name of the game for Marambi Den and Loki. It looks so good for Rescard's team, but he snuck away a little bit higher. Dropped down. Phenomenal shot from Rescard at the end too, but they clinched the win, Clay.
And they just lost track of all of the players. Marambi it just disappeared on their radar. And what is also off of our radar, I think the past 3 or so games have come from teams outside of the top 10 to make their way into it. That was an 18th place team.
I mean, lots of bottom place teams kind of stealing away points from the top. Thieves operating in the shadows. You can even see where Marambi came from. Need some clarity up in here. Need some insight. Zeke, Levin, Reese, help a boy out.
Well, much like a thief of the night, Shio is after my own heart, and he will be successful. My goodness. Clay is absolutely on a tear today, just keeping up with the story. But he's so right. So many of these trios outside of top 10 are opting to say, listen, this is qualifier number 2, okay? We, as a trio, have either not performed where we need to be to make sure we're making the top 66 going into semifinals, or we want a top 5 spot. We don't want to see semifinals. We just want to go straight there. And all of these trios that are doing this, they're making things happen, Levin. They're literally changing the narrative moment to moment.
Yeah, and like, I don't blame them for wanting to not go to semifinals, right? I'd much rather also qual.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's just me. I Shio alluded to it, and I think he's sort of right here. It does feel like a lot of maybe the lesser known teams are outclassing some of our more established teams in these final moments. I think that's maybe the 2nd or 3rd game now where I did feel like, you know, there was a team who you sort of expect to be in that position. They just don't win, and you're like, cool. what's happening, right? And so, you know, clearly maybe there's a changing of the guard, or maybe it is just one of those days. But yeah, very impressed by some of these teams who maybe we're not as used to seeing in these sort of moments.
Yeah, and well, what's actually I find interesting is the fact that the one team in that game who was in the position that we expected them to be in, which was obviously Hen, Refsguard, and TrueLegs as well, right? A team that we'd think is the much known names at the same time, is almost fully reflecting a game that they had in the previous week in qualifier number 1. Remember, Hen had a fantastic clutch in the previous week, using some nice movement to duck and dive between some trees or a little bush that was there, and picked up a great victory royale. And this time it was Refsguard to do the same thing, but obviously just didn't manage to get the victory royale, ended up placing second instead. So it's just interesting the kind of similarities we've seen, as they've also not had a very good day today so far, and that'll probably switch things up similarly to the way it did last week.
That's right. We're seeing a lot of aggression coming out of these trios. And for someone like Merstash and company, Levin, they've been super aggressive these past few games. And that aggression has been a great strength, but in some cases, a very big weakness.
Well, yeah, I mean, we talk about how great they are in fights, but it somewhat has cost them in moments, right? You see that Shizo just walks into the fight and just gets taken out instantly, right? You know, I think you think of, team fighting, and you think of, being very measured, planned, organization. And I'm not saying they don't have any of that, but it definitely is just sort of brute forcing, right? And you can see that. And this is the benefit of it when it plays off. You can sort of catch up.
No.
Like this, right?
No.
The point is that they need to be careful, right? They're still sitting here in first place, but they need to be careful because they can't afford to maybe get caught out too many times. You roll the dice so many times, eventually you're going to stop hitting sixes. So I think these guys really need to think about tournament management, right? That's always the phrase people use, right? We think about, okay, how can we guarantee we get the top 5? Because that's the most important thing here.
I mean, for them being on 147, maybe 20 more points, and that'll 100% guarantee them. So honestly, for them, I don't see them slowing down anytime soon. I see them keeping that trend up. I see the pickaxes coming out. I see them getting even more flashy as the next few games come on for them. But for Floki, Clement, Decipto still in second place. Flowes, Hellnada, and Scram still, I keep saying Hellnada. It's Hellfire, but everyone loves a bit of Canada putting the names together. In third place, still doing super well. Same with Taste and Chapix and Reason. Coming into kind of the 5th game that we've got here, the top few are definitely kind of solidifying themselves up in that close range, with obviously Merstash's team pulling away a bit, but it will definitely be a real close one after that.
I don't want to jinx it, but there was a team in 5th place there. There was a team in 5th place there that we've spoken about, and I don't want to. I don't want to do it. I don't want to jinx anything. He's still got a couple more games, but there's a team in 5th place who, Reese said he didn't think could be in 5th place, and of course there's 2 more games left. But they're there now. They're there now. I just want to point out.
I don't usually get nervous. But I'm getting a little bit shaky, I'm telling you.
Oh, no, the caster curse. Don't do us like this. All right, Fortnite fam, you heard the buzz. It means we're going back into the action. We'll have 2 more games before we know who will make it into that top 5 and qualify automatically in the finals. So for now, Shy Wager, Clay, back over your incredible faces.
Listen, things might be getting shaky on the desk. We'll stay rock solid, Clay. These are some amazing games so far, and they're really different every single time, too. You don't know what to expect.
That's one of the best things from this season that we've seen, especially with there only being 2 qualifiers, is that it's really anybody's week. It's really anybody's day, and it's just whoever comes out and performs on top at that moment. Moving back over, we see that they have finally cleared out the team, but in all honesty, for them, it was kind of better that they didn't. They got that early surge. They've got that early benefit of taking the team down that quickly.
That was all about just free points and lots of battle. You didn't really need to farm, and maybe a little bit of loot as well in terms of, I guess you also get the spawn with ammunition. Maybe these guys were going in a different place than attacking them afterwards. That weather station might have been free for him, but nope, never mind. Skek just has that same power available to him. 5th place POV, as the desk said, these guys will be the line. Everyone else is trying to cross. Fury not going to be inside this game for the most part, and Ristretto going to be taken over by swaps in the early side. Whereas the south, things look free.
They get a lot more room to breathe, especially coming in at 5th place. But look, who doesn't have any room to breathe? It's going to be Aqua for Stroky and CRR. Luckily, able to return the fire there on Devavi. Go for that revive there. Only 1 more player remaining on the enemy team, but it doesn't seem like they're anywhere nearby.
A free revive. was kind of counting these guys out completely. They were rolling in sub like 60 points in that last game, just in general overall. We weren't really competing towards the top 10, the top 5. But hey, you get a 9th with 9 elims. You really put yourself all the way back up in contention. 95 points, and they basically need to hit 110 to be in contention for the top 5. That's exactly where Snazy, Sky, and Nate are. Just about 20 points separated. So if they get those 10 elims, they get those 9 elims, this game, it should still be there. If they get top 5 as well, that'll be huge for their points. So that's what they're going to be going for. For Taste and Chapic's reason, it's all about holding on. Sometimes think the biggest pattern we've seen so far is Taste and getting picked apart and falling a little bit earlier. They've had 2 craggy zones as well, Clay, right? So it's been huge for them to be able to be comfortable and play their game overall. But they need to turn the games when it's not in craggy also into big points.
They'll have to do that now, whether depending on where it goes, right? It's currently in craggy, but I'm feeling like it's gonna pull a little south. I want to see that corny zone that we haven't seen yet. I want to see exactly where these players can separate themselves, because again, going into this 4th place, I believe, looking good. But oh, wait a minute, we've got a little bit different situation. The team up above is being more aggressive.
Slightly. I don't think it should affect them too much. Asitum might be the last alive for the fight that breaks down early in that position. Should be good for now. No, the whole team's alive, and it doesn't look like much happened. Maybe a misfire on a gas can. Zero R, though, getting knocked by Zendaya. 1 game winner to another one that's still trying to get one under their belt. Chapix is the one actually fighting Sabu for the moment. So this will be the classic push from Craggy all the way up to the hill, the thing that you were calling for, Clay. And they're really going to go straight for it. Chapix now, box to box, has the walls. This should be a free cleanup, but no! Takes the away, and there is no more isolated fights. The teammates have come by, he's bought enough time, but I think he did a little bit of damage, so profits for Chapix.
And that's what I wanted to see from Chapix. The old, I'm the king of craggy. I'm going to push out wherever I want to. And we really saw that with them in squads. And I like to see that this, again, like you said, they need to be confident about going out of craggy. They need to be good about finding these plays. And that was one of them. They got that damage like you talked about. So it should be good for them now. Moving over to Barumbi, Loki, and Dan. Look at them. They are sneaking. They want an ambush.
Don't land at one of the most hot spots either. That's Orchard, but still get wins. And it kind of was on my radar a little bit. They were playing mid-game really well for a little, but then always got interrupted by a team inside that half-in, half-out zone, it seems like. Got so many different escapes from Demise earlier on in game 1 and 2. But it was this last game, game number 4, where they really popped off. Got that VR. Sabahu once again finds a vehicle and runs away from a full trio. I don't know how this man is doing it, but he's living.
he is just surviving right now. And by the way, that flew in, that's across all regions. This is the only trio across all regions to get a victory royale from Orchard.
That's huge, putting the spot on the map. I mean, a lot of the times people just look for consistency when they're playing from there. Some people who are still trying to qual towards that round 4, looking at Cray, like to just heal off from there too.
There's a lot of opportunities from Orchard, and we're seeing it. We're seeing it could be that victory royale spot, the I'm gonna out heal everybody in the game spot, and I like the versatility of it. And I think that's what makes Fortnite is there's like a million different ways you can play it, so many different play styles, and all of them seem to always be on effect here in competitive Fortnite.
Definitely, but they're still kind of in that position that we just left Aqua with, the same stakes, 91 points, and get a 20-point game here. A 20-point game that's better than everyone else as well. So looking at double-digit elims and being somewhere inside that top 10, that'll put him up in contention to auto-qual for the finals. Put him in a really good spot for that last game. Tidy, though. He's had some good games. He's going to be ahead. He's actually kind of shooting at that car as it goes by, but we go to a big fight. Looks like Karma, Zendaya, and we're really picking battles against any team they can find. Sometimes it's Aqua, sometimes it's someone else off spawn. This time, it's Reason, Chapix, and Taysom.
fourth place in a very big fight against seventh. Again, if fourth takes down seventh, there's a lot more cushion there, a lot more room to make a mistake later in the game. But a seventh can topple fourth place there, who is doing so well. They're constantly moving up the leaderboard. That will just kill their momentum.
They're really looking to just survive as much as possible. Elims don't have to really even be that much of a factor for Zendaya. The biggest thing right now is a lot of the teams that are inside the top 5 have gotten there through consistency, right? I think it's Mustache, Malabuka, and Shizo who are the only ones that have really won a game, have a very crazy top 3 pop-off after that. Everyone else is coasting in top 10, top 5 with about 5-6 eliminations, and then one kind of maybe behind average game overall. This means that if you do end up surviving longer, maybe even get towards that VR, and you're at 100 points already, you're definitely scooting into maybe even the top 3. It's anyone's games right now still, even for Snazy, Sky, and Nate. They have to keep going. There is no time to relax. Only Malabuka, I feel like, can maybe still do that. Even them, they're only ahead by 12 points.
I want to just keep seeing them be aggressive. I don't want to see them stop that until the last game. I want to see their gameplay the entire time, and then I want to see their tournament management skills, because that's where they're going to thrive in the finals. If they can do that, and then third, fourth, or fifth game, rather start to slow it down, manage their aggression, and just hold on, because right now it can be a little bit more aggressive. It's not going to be the same people that are going to be in finals. That caliber there it's here, right? We've got a quarter of the players from the last finals in this qualifier today. But when you get to that finals, everyone is going to be playing just a little bit differently. Everyone's going to be a little bit more hungry.
Also be 6 more games to play inside there. So I'll have to manage things very differently the whole time. Presentation chat picks. I guess one of the causes of them running into so many different teams is because they have one of the best spots to get surge from. Pick up on brick 2. Up inside the car with the chonker tires, they'll be able to just completely drive away. They're going straight towards the north side. This zone has been here, I think, 3 different times now, a central north one, and it's pulled towards Craggy every single time. So they're realizing the patterns. Also realizing, we saw the map shot, a majority of teams should kind of be near the south. So being near empty space is huge for getting control. Trunk kind of popped on the backside. One of the tires is kind of let loose as well. How far can this vehicle go? Answer is not that far, and a huge cost too. As I'll have to dive into med kits, possibly a few chuck splashes. That's a little bit greedy.
And I think one of my least favorite things to see when things like that happen, or when fireflies are thrown, is the non-immediate chug splash. It gets rid of all the fire in your area. He was right on top of his teammate. Go for that chug splash. You're gonna need it eventually. It gets rid of the fire. Your builds are fine, and then you're able to just keep standing there and building. But again, that's a little bit panicky. And again, it goes back to that minimizing everything and maximizing your reward, like breaking the vending machines, like we saw seasons ago, eliminating those NPCs. That way nobody else could get them and use them. It's one of those things where it's like, hey, that's something to do. Not everyone's thinking about it in that moment, though.
I think one of the reasons teams don't opt for the insta splash is because as soon as you see a vehicle blow up, teams will always start to beam as much as possible. And I've seen, I think, chuck splash tech or like an insta pop of a fish, and it never goes well because you just end up getting shot down. You have the lapse of building that's not there for even that half second. You see how far Aware can take a half second. You see how far Malibu can take even half a second of beams. That's about 150 damage. So you want to make sure the defense is up at all times.
A team that doesn't really need to play defense right now is Zendaya, Aware, and Karma. Is they're doing so well, and this is one of those trios that if you've been around from EU for a while, you know their names. You know Karma, you know Zendaya, you know Aware. They've been here, right? But they haven't really had that prowess that you have with names like Cloaky, Clement, and Decepto. So coming in 7th place, there's a lot of pressure for them to make that top 5, especially from themselves. They've popped off. They've done really well. They want to perform. And if you can get top 5, now that puts even more on your name. Like, hey, we did it when there was only 2 qualifiers to do so. So I'm looking at them. I really want to see them do well because, like you said, this is a season across all regions of some of these newer players making a name for themselves.
There's gonna be trouble with the way they kind of approach the game, though. To qualify, you really need 3 very good games, I feel like. And when it comes to Zendaya, Karma, and Aware, they've had 1 win with 13 elims. The rest of it has been a 12th, a 20th, a 15th. If they want to qualify from this spot, this game needs to go well. At least the 10th place, at least maybe 3 or 4 eliminations. And the next game has to be as consistent, maybe even better if everyone else ends up popping off. I'm not sure if they have it in them because they've been kind of jittery and just pushing teams. I know you like the aggression, Clay, but that aggression might be the reason they end up losing out a chance at top 5 in this tournament.
Well, and I think this comes back to a phrase that you yourself said a long time ago: measured aggression, balanced aggression, right? Is knowing when to be aggressive and when to stop yourself and realize, hey, that's too much. We've got to tone it in. And the EU is one of the best examples of that. You've got players that will just go the entire time and not stop. And then you have players that will go and realize, you know what? No, let's take a step back. And I want to see that, especially from Malabuka, right? Because he has the makings of a player that is very, very good at when they're aggressive, but does need to look and realize, hey, I got to tone it back at this very moment.
Deoxy, Josie, and Crow giving us the best shield-taking ASMR. As the lightning keeps coming in. Verstash, you're just talking about him. And Malabuka go down. I'm not sure if I saw Shizo go down. Marombi, Loki, the winners from last game, not able to play this one either. And now opportunity for some damage is not going to hit. I'm just waiting a half second. Looks like Shizo might have not gone down just yet. That is, though, so the winners from last game not going to be here. Orchard is not going to be put on the map once again.
First place is out. They've all gone down, and going into the last game, Shio, for Floki, for Clement and Deceptos, if you will, Clementos there, they need to do well. This is their game. If they want to lead, if they want to establish themselves as, hey, we can do this, we can hold on, this is their game. Not to mention as well, for Flowis, Hell, and Scram, they as well can establish a lead, can start to get there, because they were only, I think, 19 points behind. That is not that hard to get at this level for them. And so this is a big game because first is out. So second through eighth are up. There's a lot of wiggle room there.
About a 10-point differential in that conversation. So we'll see who can catch up. For One Lost, MSR, Podosai, for every team that's around 80, 90 points you're going to be watching on screen, the pressure is real. This is 2 games they need to both perform in. This is the catch-up one to kind of get them into triple digits. The next one has to be a pop-off, or it could be a variation of both at different times. The basic rule is, though, you cannot go down right now. You cannot go down before the 9th zone, basically. And that's a very tough rule. Some of these teams can't afford it. For Sash Malabuka, Shizo, they're down at what, the 3rd zone right now, Clay? They can afford it. They can come back next game and be stronger. Have a chance still to be inside the top 5. Taste and Chapik's reason, even if they make mistakes right now, they still have one more game with 130 points to be able to do whatever they want to do. But for a majority of the teams in the lobby, they're playing to survive, and that's why you see 22 teams alive right now, 62 players as that 4th zone locks in. This one's going to be a stacker.
I love this angle that Tayson has right now, just trying to put the damage down onto the team. He realizes, wait a minute, they're being a little bit too aggressive for my liking. I'll back up. Karma is actually going to pick up elimination there on the Robonus. Now they're going aggressive. Chapix, Piston, and Tayson want to get these eliminations, want to be in the boxes. They pick up 1, but that's all they're going to grab. I'm not sure their Storm Surge efforts here with only 1 Elam's reason. We'll take down Axe there. It is going to throw one back. They will get that finish for the maximum amount of Surge. And look at that. Wow, they've got a launch pad right nearby. This game is setting up well.
Really well for them. Mongrel Vino Joe, though. Little trap on the pad. Not going to let them get it. And this is a huge rotation they need. These next 30 seconds, very mysterious, dangerous, anxiety for the team that had a game plan to get away, but looks like Mongrels will take it first. They will get a lot of the pressure and show different teams who are based up that this is a possible site land to beam for. No one's going to go for the punishment, though. And Taste and Chapek's reason, they get the land for free.
You take a little damage there, but great to let Mongrel and them rotate ahead of you because you're going to be able to follow exactly where they went, see those sight lines as you're rotating through. And the pressure that Tayson put with just one AR tag was enough to make that team back down, and they're looking good.
Point threshold that all these teams are trying to catch up to. The magical number that Mustache, Malabuka, and Shizo, the first place team, stopped at is 147. So Tayson right now is at 132. If they want to have that big pedestal, if they want to take over first before the next game starts, they have to live for about 15 more points.
That's a lot of points when it comes down to competitive Fortnite. We make it seem like, oh, 15 points, that's a couple elims here and there, that's a couple placement. But when there's 58 players alive, 21 total, it's going to be hard. Deceptos and Clement going to go down. It's going to be Flois and Scram fighting. That is a big fight. That is second and third, taking each other out of the equation with first already gone. That looks so much better for Tayson, Chapek, and Rezon. It looks like second place is out. They have gone down as well. Shio, this leaderboard is going to be shaken up really, really quickly.
There's different ways to shake it too. We'll have Tayson, Chapek, and Rezon waiting for it to bake in the oven. We'll have Flois, Hellfire, and Scram really taking it by the reins and giving it a good shake right now. They're the ones who took down second and are climbing up the rungs of the ladder themselves. I wonder how many points they are at now because they were barely even behind. You were mentioning it, Clay, but we'll tune in with them in just a sec. Saba, Tidy, Esitam, 111. This is one of the POVs of some of the outside teams who are in the top 10, but not really all the way there. Haven't locked in their spot inside the top 5. Looking very good on Storm Surge damage. Have a long way to go, though. This is the max pull they're looking at, but they have a pad. It makes things very simple. An early one, too, so no team ahead should really be looking just yet. Some teams behind getting a little bit greedy with the timing. Saba comes in first. His teammates should just roll by. Esitam took a few pump shots and breaks his legs on the way in. Scrams by himself as a result of that fight. Yes, they're going to be huge on points. 11 extra this gameplay. That puts them at 139 right now in total. But he's all by himself, and I haven't seen him clutch today like this before.
Scram, one of the oldest names in EU Fortnite, really needs to come up big. Really needs to get some clutch plays. But when Rezon is getting an elimination there onto Saba, who we just talked about, 6th place, coming into this game, this is a tall order for Scram to do as a solo. They have to both survive and out-eliminate some of the best players of Tayson, Chapek, and Rezon.
Magic number for him right now on the bottom left should be around 20. He needs 9 more points. Make this a 20-point game. He'll definitely catch up to Mustache. He'll catch up to that 147 mark and maybe even pass it by a little bit. It'll for sure secure this team inside the top 5, hopefully for the next game. But look at who is going to try to put a stop to it. Hen, Refsguard, Trulix all the way up top. Loot Boys are ready to contest the height as well, all the way in the mid ground. Podesai is looking alongside Reason to move towards the next zone, and Karmas and Dea are still alive. The interrupters, the aggressors of EU in this 6-game qualifier. We're looking to do it again.
6th place only has 1 player up as well. It's going to be Tidy. They have an epic pump shotgun and maybe have a launch pad in their inventory. Some saving grace there. Surge is going to show, but I don't know if they're above quite yet. It has updated now. They are. Launchpad going to come through. They've got to be careful about high ground going right nearby. Zendaya going to get elimination. Mongol still operating in the feed. Trulix, Resguard, and Hen want that victory. They want to be able to do it. Scram in the middle of your screen to the left there. Very low. We're on top of him. Does have surge. Does have builds. Does have heals. But what can they find? Skype now going to go down. That's 5th place. Still in this game. Still operating. Scram, though, in an awkward spot. He needs to stay alive. He has to stay alive. No! He will go down, unfortunately. Now, 4th place of Falcon. There's a Falcon, Tayson, Chapek, and Rezon have to do well. They have the opportunity to run. They are doing well, but so is everyone else.
A few key teams still have players alive. Vino going down to Zestin, who's going to climb back into this race. Heidi, 117, looking to elevate his team by himself, and no one's around him. How is this man found no man's land, found the perfect spot to be in? It's so secluded, and no one is going to be knocking on his walls for now. Ref's guard picking up a few eliminations in that feed. That height fight still continues. Mark going down, so is Arius. Fremont gets his first name into the feed, but Tidy is still up, 119 points. The spicy splash is making a move with speed. Is at the front portion of the zone now. No one really interrupting him. Finally, his target gets broken into. Wooden builds, has to find a way around. Pumps on the backside, does relieve the pressure. Goes back up. This man is making a labyrinth that no player can follow. He's still alive. Possible splashes. Maintains that fast movement. Gets the shields back up, and he's at 120. He's still moving forward.
I don't know how this man is staying up right now. They are doing what seems to be the impossible, seems to find any angles that they can just squeeze their way on through. The zone for now is going to give a bit of reprieve. It's going back. They have time to pop shield. They can get back up to fighting HP, but with one build, what can they do? High ground was taken and was slain. They were taken down, unfortunately. Trulix for them is still up. Fury, Siberia, and Link there as well. Tidy looks to find more eliminations, is going to find Crow. That's going to be nice, but it was not an elimination for them. They are not going to get that siphon, but they do reap the rewards from one build to 49. This puts them in a great spot as well. 4th through 8th, still all up and operating, still trying to cut in. That's over 147, Shio. They will take the lead with this game.
Tayson all the way up top. We still have that solo clutch down bottom, but focus in on the power. A full trio alive that can really push this competition to its limits. They're still going for it, and Tayson's finally found a breath to take a few minis too. Look at the loadout. Harpoon available. High ground's yelling, screaming, boasting, puffing their chests, but Tayson's never scared. One person has to come down. He shuts them up real quick. They have a huge target to work with that's bouncing back. This is a vacation. They're not even pressured. It's too easy for this team. What else is breaking down? Because I already see this game's winners on our screen.
Zendaya trying to stay up, but they can't do it. Traffics and company are going to go for the high ground. They're going to drop one down. Not going to be able to do it. Trying to find him again with the harpoon, but they wait. They buy their time. It's a 3v3, v3, v3. Everybody up is a trio, but this trio just looks so strong. But can they find Link? Can they find Fury? Can they find Siberia up above? They may invest just too much. 8 builds from Tayson. They have to try to find an elimination here. Maybe find a refresh. Harpoon's going out. They're trying to make something happen. 4th place and 7th place are the only ones inside the top 10. No, Tayson gonna go down. Chapek's the only one left. Rezon went a little bit too high, but look at Chapek's on the low ground, trying to find elimination after eliminations. He's gonna find one. Can he find the no? He cannot find the confirmation, but it doesn't matter. They already have so many points. Link, Siberia, and Fury look to win this game. Look to climb back in, and yet again, Shio, it is another team outside the top 10 that look to take home the victory royale.
Don Cusick trying anything right now to do something on the backside, finds a chuck barrel, but it's not enough. Fury finally finding a way to balance both sides of the equation. Jake and Link, they're all there. They have that VR. It's huge for them for the comeback, but man, so many teams had a nice catch up with the top 4 going down. Clay, that was the shake-up game. If we had a top 5 we were following, scrunch up that newspaper, throw it in the trash, because it definitely changed after that one.
It did. We know who's going to be in first coming out of that game, but everybody else is just going to be up to the leaderboards. And again, I said it, every single game after the first game has been won by a team outside of the top 10. That I've never really seen before.
I mean, it's absolutely nuts, but this time, right, we're rolling in with it, and some of those top 10s were still alive. So with crazy clutches, strong teams, I want to see the opinions of Zeke, Levin, and Reese. How are we looking before our final game?
Gentlemen, we're going to see a very large shakeup in general. I just want to read back to you the eliminations coming out of this last game. First place team, there's 7 eliminations. Second place team, 12. Third place team, 7 eliminations. The team that was eliminated in 4th had 13 eliminations. 40 elims in just your top 4. Levin, what are we witnessing here? What is happening?
This is Fortnite. You know what? Yeah. Sorry. You know, I'm trying to keep things lighthearted. We're getting quite serious, right? That was the penultimate game, and what a game it was. Look, I really think it's important for us to look at this day and really understand just how mad it's been. Madness, craziness is really the word I'm going for here, because, you know, when you have so many teams who seem to be cycling in and out, right, of that top 10, so many of these teams who maybe started a bit shockingly, decided, no, actually, we can win a game here. You know, it's madness, it's chaos, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I think it shows the desperation. I think nobody wants to go through to the semi-finals. I think that's what it is, right? Everybody wants top 5 to try and just go straight to finals. They don't want to have to deal with, you know, Thursday, Friday. They want to just be there Saturday, Sunday, and that's it.
Yeah, and I think like something that really shows the versatility so far is the fact that the team in last, which was Fancy Shots, Vetrum, and Tob, was one of the teams who got 13 eliminations there. So they had 2 eliminations in the first 4 games, 9 points total, and then they've just popped off 4th place, 13 eliminations overall. So like, if you want something that shows how crazy these kind of days have been in terms of just like leaderboards flipping over and over, I think that's just the perfect example of it right there.
So insane. We're going to take a look at the standings in just a moment. First, we got to talk about these teams on the bubble, friends. This actually might have already shaken up Region 11. Yeah. But what are the teams we're looking at right now?
I mean, look, this is the first one, right? We're going to Tidy's team, who we saw Tidy doing a great solo like job basically throughout the majority of the end game. Let's be real. He was a solo, got a single elimination that he mixed out on, but still, great job. They were in 6th coming into this game, so they're definitely, I think, because of that solo glitch, probably moved on quite a lot.
Yeah, of course. Snazy, Sky, a team we talked a lot about. We talked about how everything was set up for them to really do well. And even though we said, you know, we're just the sort of shake-ups in the bubble teams, they still will want to go into this final game to secure a spot in 5th place.
Yeah, but Tasteless team obviously doing great that last game. We know they're in first now, ended on 161. No one other team was like anywhere near, and we'll just check the standings that you see exactly 161 up the top. So they moved up about 5 places. So, you know, when we created this, we were like, yeah, these guys are on the bubble. They're right on the edge, and now they're first. So, you know, things change as it goes along. But just quickly here, what I want to point out, remember, top 5 is the qualification, sitting on 133. Look at how many teams are so close to that top 5.
Yeah, I'm very nervous. Like, I'm very nervous because we've seen such tight on other regions. We've seen it where it's come down to tiebreakers. It came down to a tiebreaker in OCE. We saw it last week where it came down to a tiebreaker for Tayson's team, who are currently in 1st place. It's going to get intense. You know, Shayo, Clay, please, you know, just keep me calm through all of this, right? I'm going to struggle to stay calm throughout all of this because, like we said, it is going to be so tight. I know it will. I've said it's probably going to come down to a tiebreak, and I've jinxed it. Oh, God, I don't know what to do, guys. I don't know what to do.
Look, we've seen tiebreakers. Oh, sorry, go for it.
No, you quickly.
I was just going to say, we've seen tiebreakers on so many regions right now, so many weeks, so many qualifiers. Look, it's just going to happen. Sorry, Levin.
Everything's written in the stars. We literally we were talking about just now, the Cash Cup, the solo Cash Cup before this was a 3-way tiebreaker for first. Like, everything just seems to be a tiebreaker right now. I can't separate the tiebreakers from the non-tiebreaker. I'm going crazy about tiebreakers.
You can tell that Levin really cares. This is truest Levin coming out, who just wants everybody to win. He's finally channeling and releasing his inner Zeke, and that's all that matters. He's finally here, Fortnite fam. We've won him over. That's it. Okay, one last game here in Europe. This is the final game for qualifier number 2 out of Europe specifically. So, Shy Witcher, Clay, let's do this, friends. One last time.
This is the cloth of calmness in my hands right now. Right before this game. I'm dropping it. There is no calmness on the screen, Clay. Right now, it's about to get heavy. I mean, the tie, I can see it. It's there, and every point, every elim will matter.
Every opportunity, you have it right now in front of you. But who's going to take it? Who is going to walk through that door and say, you know what? That's my top 5. I am here. Look at Nate, Snazy, and Sky looking uncontested. Flowis, Hellfire, and Scram looking good, uncontested as well. It seems like everybody in the top seems to be uncontested yet again. But we've seen that doesn't particularly matter this time around. These winners are coming outside of the top 10. Everybody that needs and is relevant right now is outside, inside the top 10. That top 5, everybody obviously fighting for series points as well. But that top 5 is what everyone cares about right now. Top 10 goes all the way down to 101 points. 5th place is at 133. So So it's there. It's still possible, right? There's still some relevancy. But when you get down to the teams that don't have as many points, haven't had the best of games, they're playing for series points. But when it comes to being relevant to top 5, you need to be in that top 10.
We'll talk about the top 5 we have right now, because even inside there, I mean, Claire explained all the different stakes. The stakes for them are super different, right? Look at that, Snazy, Skyte, Nate, 133 points. Right below him, 129 with Karma. They're not chilling at all. These guys have been sweating, worked like a 15-hour shift, and they still have the most stressful part of their job left in this final game. You look up 1 from them, Flowis, Hellfire, Scram, 142, tied with Floki, Clement, Deceptos, and these guys just fought each other or saw each other fight last game. They're in bumper cars, side-by-sides, go-karts, right? Clashing over and over again, and are both also running out of fuel in those vehicles. One above them, Verstash, Malabuka, Shizo. They're kind of like athletes that have been hot, ready, nice, stretched out the whole day. Just got put on ice clay that last game. They haven't skipped the game just yet, and they had to watch everyone else get points. Probably anxious coming into this one. And then finally, our leaders so far, Tayson, Chapix, Reason. They've got sunglasses on, Hawaiian shirts, feet up at the beach, a 20-point lead almost on the rest of the competition. All they have to do is not miss their clock-in time for work the next day after vacation. They got to make sure, yes, we're happy off spawn right now, but work still needs to be done this game. It doesn't matter if they win, really, right? That's a good personal accolade, but it's about that top 5. They have to stay in there. They have to still maintain and get a few points this game.
A lot of fights happening around, and looks alone going to be taken down here by Stacey. This is exactly where they end up getting that mythic burst. They just got to be careful. Sona's making plays. Hen going to go down. They tried to make strides toward that top 10, 15th place for Hen. They did have great games all around. Again, we're harping on top 5 because that is what matters to go to the finals. But there still is an opportunity in semifinals for everybody that gets enough series points. Snazy is going to take down every Sloan but the last one, the true one with that mythic burst AR. But already, just look at how much ammo they have. Like, they're already setting themselves up for greatness.
It's huge, and everyone's really going all in with it. So many early game strats are isolated. So many fights themselves as well leave people with full finishes, right? No one really has to go for any big revivals. As a result, we're seeing some of the fewest reboots. You just saw that quick silence screen that we've seen in EU overall inside, you know, just in general and around 4. So we're looking at things today. It seems like everyone's got their strategies locked in. They're going and fully finishing all these fights. And earlier on, being a lot more isolated, going for their own strats. But we saw how big Surge is as a result, right, Clay? Lots of teams also struggling there. Flow, Scram, Hellfire, I think there was one game where they were behind. This time, though, I mean, you might not like, and it could be true that Lazy's a little bit tough to loot. They've got 3 extra big pots. They've got more than great weapons, too. It's huge for them, a nice pedestal to move in with, because remember, they're tied right now with 3rd place. That's Floki, Clement, and Deceptos.
They've got time as well. It seems like already looted every building. They're quick with it. We're going to get an east zone centered up, though. In the middle of the map, there's going to be that contested. Trulik's going to fall there as well. Going to get knocked by Vino. Of all teams ended up fighting. I believe that's them in the middle of the map there. But just look at how much open area there is. And look how many players are still looting where they've landed at. Holly still being looted. Outside of Sludgy still being looted. Pleasant still being looted, but I believe that was a fight that was happening there. Karma to find some shots over on a team at Stealthy Stronghold. But Karma, again, you talked about, they're one of those teams. They are on the bubble. They're 6th place. They need to perform.
I want to look a little bit from that outside in. Karma is one of those teams on the bottom right with Aware and Zendaya. Had a big pop-off. I said they can't really miss another game after that. So in the last game, they got a 5th with 5 elims. All their other games have been outside the top 10, a 20th, a 12th, a 15th. Now is the time to really lock it in. Have 2 good games back-to-back, but Clay, they haven't done that yet. Every time they have a good game, it's followed by maybe 1 or maybe 2 bad ones after the fact. So they have to keep the emotions calm for the moment. I know things are probably still happening in the feed, but if it doesn't concern the top 10, I don't really care as much for the moment. Because these guys are still right on that line. It's 4 points behind Snazy, Skyte, and Nate. And they land on the complete opposite side of the map. Sanji Vovi being affected this time. It's not Aqua taking out those people at Boney Burbs. Maybe they even switched up their spot trying to qualify all the way towards the end. But another team to focus on too is Saba, Tidy, and Acetum, who I feel like have had really good end games. They have been a little bit troublesome inside that early game, but they're here. They're at one of the risky spots. They're contested overall, and overall they're 7th place right now, Clay.
I just don't know for these teams that are outside the top 5, which one of them has the experience and has that momentum to string together the game they need.
I mean, it might not be Sabas and Hesitums. They have to basically do what they've never done before, and that's be inside the top 5. They've come 8th, 10th, 7th, a lot. That's very good and consistent. Need to pop off, though. Here's Saba by himself for the moment. Needs to make sure that this game, they get that top 5. They get the VR. They get to stay all the way up top, because if not, they're not going to qualify.
And Hellfire just got an elimination, which I'm not sure where. They were pretty uncontested at Lazy and all around. So someone rotating in, causing a little bit of havoc, but that's better for them. That's great for them. That's 2 eliminations for them. They, again, are 4th place. They, like you said, are not chilling by any means. They need these.
That was the Boney Burbs fight that was breaking down. Krusty, I believe, took out a lot of the people that used to be landing there. Maybe that Boney team moved over somewhere near Lazy Lake. At the same time, Lazy, kind of opposite from the way it's named. You can be very active on that POI. We can watch these guys looting it in 1 second. They can be in a car across the map in the next. So maybe that's exactly what happened. Different story for Tidy, Saba, and Esitum. They start with a little bit less loot than everyone else. It's not the most powerful. I think Tidy actually has a very good loadout compared to what he usually has. They're landing on the north side of that big Camby split, and they get a little bit of the, you know, it in total as they move around. But at the same time, the last team to talk about, Pro, Ozzy, and Deox. I mean, Clay, they've been popping off in the end game when they make it there overall. They're in 8th place, 123 points. And it's either or for these guys. Either make an end game, get 6 with really good elim counts, right? 7 or 4, or they get a 27th or outside top 10. And right now they have 2 outsides and 3 in the actual money, right? So if we're following patterns, they might not make it into this end game, but they have to break it.
I think my best analogy is, you know, in your kitchen, you have that one knob that sometimes is hot, sometimes is cold. You turn it on, and it's kind of like, which temperature water am I going to get today? And that's kind of how we're here with them. Are they going to be hot? Are they going to be cold in this final game? They need to be hot. We need them to be. They need themselves to be. But are they going to be? It's a roll of the dice right now. But just a quick stat, 17 different teams have been inside the top 10. So the shuffle, like we've been talking about, is very apparent today. And I also want to point out, this is probably the most aggressive game we've seen. We more than likely will not see Surge in that 3rd zone. 72 players up. This is going to be different. Players are not going to have the same amount of shots to rely on.
And players also won't have the update of how much damage they've done, so it might be even harder for that 5th zone. That's a very good point. You're talking about the knob in the kitchen, or, you know, on a faucet, you're not sure what happens. But these guys too, I feel like they're kind of moths to a flame that sometimes fly too close to it, or kind of like Icarus with the wings, right? They're very aggressive, really good at what they do in terms of fights, but sometimes overstay, sometimes go for that extra peak. We saw it versus Malabuka's team. They lost a player, had to get him back. For Crow, it's all about restraint in this game. That being said, we can analyze and talk about, you know, teams have to do this differently, that differently. When teams change up their strategy, that might already be their demise. Sometimes it's about locking in, playing aggressive again, taking the big risk. If you change up the entire way you play, bring a whole new game, and usually that never works out.
And it's even more risky doing it in the top 10 in the final game when you need top 5 to go through. It just makes it that much more difficult and that harder for players to make that decision of, yeah, we need to make a change. Yeah, we've got to play a little bit differently. Those little micro differences are easier. Just say, hey, let's not rotate this way this time. Let's go over here. Let's look for shots over there. But speaking of differences, Scram, Hellfire, Flois came into this game 142 points. They're currently sitting on 153, making their way up the leaderboard. Snazy, Sky, and Nate, they came in 133. So that's 5 points given out for placement, have already been there for everybody. But 153 would put them over 2nd place right now. So that they would take.
Definitely would. At the same time, the 2nd place team is alive and getting the same placements as these guys are. This should be all the way up towards the top as well. 400 damage above. While every other team fights and pushes to try to salvage their game, you know, the infamous Mega and Dubs clip of we just kind of need a 20 bomb and we should be fine. And that's kind of what they used to do in those World Cup days over and over again. If everyone's trying to do that, if Snazy, Sky, and Nate just sit on the mountain, pick apart those teams, throw a few pot shots every now and then, they get to be up good on Surge like they are now. Cosmic Chest also available for them if they want to end up taking it. And Ristrado might be the next person that Snazy, Sky, and Nate target. Remember, you want to be playing the game the same way as you were in any other one. If this is an advantageous, isolated fight, if you have a 2v3 already set and ready, it's next to the right side of the zone and it's no one else is there, it might be the best fight to take. Unfortunately, there is a team already on the hill looking at Ristrado's team overall, so they'll just pick up Snazy and be on their way.
What I'm worried about for Snazy, Sky, and Nate is that they just don't have the pop-off potential that they need to. Yes, they've played a consistent game, but being top 5, there's pop-off with Karma, Zendaya, and Aware. There's pop-off with Tidy. There's pop-off with Crow. There's teams below them that have that factor of we can win a game on a moment's notice. Nate, Snazy, and Sky, while they do, it's a very slow-paced game. It's a very, I'm going to just outlast you on low ground. And what we've seen is that the teams above them are better at doing that. So where do they fit into this puzzle of we're top 5, but we're not comfortable?
For them, the comfort comes in elims, and there's so many teams alive usually in the end game that are available to give you those eliminations. The big thing about this game, whereas the comfort, very good question, Clay, because a lot of these teams have already been eliminated. The end game will be a little less stacked than usual. Teams will be playing very differently too, so they're not going to find the same elims on the same layers. They always have one person clutching too. This time, all 3 of them kind of have to stay alive, stay secure, and get ready to go because elims will be a lot tougher to find in the 6th game.
Only 85 damage above Karma, Zendaya, and Aware seem to always be in this position where they're barely above. They can make an opportunity to continue to be above, and they're going to have to. Look at their rotation coming through there. That mark on the map from them will keep them on our mini map here. And look, they're going for a very central push, but they need to go for more than that. 23 above. The teams damaging them are the ones that are below Surge. They do get some more tags in return, but 67 is still not safe. Nobody has gone down. So we pointed out that 72 players were up when that first initial talk about Surge happened. No one has gone down. No one has been rebooted. Everyone knows that if they want to win, if they want to be in the top 5, and even if they want enough series points, they have to stay up. But who is not up? It's going to be in Zendaya, but quickly a swing of damage goes their way.
I think Aware and Karma had a nice angle on someone around them, and they need to stay alive. They have the biggest advantage against all other teams right now, Clay. Aware, Karma, and Zendaya. They have a victory royale under their belts. So when it comes to tiebreakers, which it has previously in EU, which it has previously this week on OCE and across the entire world, having a win under your belt is huge. It might be worth for anyone to even try to take this team out if they're close by, force that fight, because who knows? Even if Snazy, Sky, and Nate end up popping off, if Karma's right beside them with that win, there's nothing they can really do unless they themselves win a game. And I guess that one big pick pushes forward for the finish. Aware and Karma are there. They have a little bit of that loot to take. The hard mats, the metal, right there. That's huge. They back up with the ammunition as well. A nice refresh for the team.
I don't know if they're done backing off. It looks like they are, but they're still looking because they know Milad was hurt. They know that damage was out there, and again, they know they need to go for more eliminations. They've got to be very careful though. That third party of the yellow triangles coming in is going to be scary. It is going to be awkward because that team will come in. They will push from the other side, and then if they decide, you know what, no, we're gonna spray the team spraying them, they catch you off guard. You're down. Your game is done. You are going to semifinals with your placement points. So you've got to be careful. Marumbi, we saw do very well, pick up that victory royale, is going to be trading with Noah Riley, and I like that they've paused. I like that they came back because I don't think taking this fight now would be in their best interest.
I think what they're trying to do is get a little bit of server focus on their side, but no one's really looking this way. They're all looking towards the southwest side of the zone, it looks like. Snazy has to pick up Nate for the moment. What a nice loadout to play with, but if you don't have your full team, it's troublesome. Sky is getting that revive down. There is the Oxy's team, I believe, right beside him. But they'll be chilling for now. Everyone's got to squeeze all the way in. This zone is where you see a lot of casualties, a lot of trio members lose their teammates. And remember, for Snazy, they have a team right beside them on tiebreaker territory that has a win. So they might need to win this game, Clay, if they want to make it to the finals.
Prepping for that immediate launch pad. It seems like, no, they're going to go for the peppers, and I like that. Save that pad for that next zone.
Oh my
Honestly,
God.
this is a very awkward rotation right into high ground in the open field. I like that they're burning their materials here because it's so risky what they're doing. Luckily for them, there's no bolt action sniper rifles. It's not as risky, but look who is right behind them. It's gonna be Crow, who is in 8th place right now. This is big. Chayo 5th and 8th place right on top of each other. Saddam is gonna get an elimination as well. That's gonna be another 7th place team taking down eliminations after eliminations. They need those. They need to keep being aggressive.
But Saddam did too, although the Loop Boys might not be in contention for the top 5. They've let the server breathe on mid and low ground. That Loop Boy trio is very good at trapping a team and then stealing away their position completely. They really mix up the way Hype plays. They mix up any steamy stacks end games as well, and we're really close to that. With them down now, it lets every other team think a little bit and not get interrupted in their flow.
2 elims. They're gonna need more. They were sitting at 7th place coming in. And in all honesty, I think the top 5 is not going to be able to be predicted. I think we'll see who clearly is going to be able to get first after this game, but the rest is going to come down, like you said. I think to tiebreakers. I think to these last-second clutches that we've seen before, these last-second surges up the leaderboard, because again, reminder, if it seems like with 12, 14, 15th out of this game, it really comes down to the top 11, even really just the top 10. If you are inside there, you are what everyone's focused on in this game. If they see, hey, I know I just took down Crow, they were in 8th place, that's going to secure a little bit more for Saba and company, just a little bit more comfort.
I thought we were going to go straight back to the Season 6 finals here, steamy with this zone, but nope. We're going a little bit more south. That plays very well for Snazy and Crow. Karma, though, has a full rotation. They're the yellow arrows you see on the mini-map. They have to go all the way back down to where this safe zone is. Might have to burn a pad, which is not going to be the best thing to do either if you want to have a say inside this end game. What will Saba do, though? Is Hydro still down below? There's a free Elam they don't have a say in just yet. The Storm Sword is just ticking on him. We can see the lightning, but they can't hear it. They can't see anything yet until that shield cracks. So they have no idea that free Elam is just right there, and they will skip it in form for the position and the rotation. That's smart. Here is kind of 5th and 8th, the upper echelon of the top 5, or I guess the bottom part. Now they're in 4th. That's insane. Snazy, Sky, and Nate are kind of holding the line as to who can really qualify for the finals.
So 4th, 5th, and 8th are all right near each other in this game. Everybody is on top of each other. If one team makes a mistake, if one team goes a little bit too over aggressive, it is it. It is over for them. And talk about being over aggressive. Look at high ground right now, building out off of that zone. Holding high ground in 5th is going to be hard. Mustache in the elimination feed. We saw Rezon in the elimination feed as well. Malabuka getting involved as well. It's great to continue to see, but 1st through 11th still being up in this game, it's really anybody's.
Snazy, Nate, and Skype gonna be on the hot seat. This should be the main focus. 141 points is currently what 5th is at. Unless there's another team that really popped off, we would have seen it though. It would have been about 7 or 8 elims already. It should be holding things down. What do they do next? They got gifted one zone, and now they really have to earn the next one. A max rotation. We got one pad in the pocket.
They've got peppers, or a singular one here for Sky. I'm not sure if he's given some over yet, but they're looking. They're going back and forth, trying to decide. Nate looking for an angle. Sky trying to find one there as well. Maybe able to skirt around the backside, and I think that's what they're going to do. Peppers are dropped. They're not going for the pad. They are going to go on foot. Maybe recycle a pad here. I think that's one of the biggest things we haven't really seen this much this season is going for the recycle, but that's why it is that much more scary, that much more risky. You have to be careful around the edge of zone. they continue to go. This reminds me of what Chap would do, try to find these rotations that are awkward. Clement is going to go down. That's a big one there. Loki going to go down. That's a big one there. Only Deceptos remaining. That's third place. Almost out of the game. What can Deceptos do? Can they clutch up? Can they find anything?
I want to see the Deceptos right now. Maybe the points he goes down at is something Sky can fly by. Floki finally eliminated. Be cool to see right now. They have big shots too. What a genius rotation from these guys. If everyone's in the sky, the ground should be free game to move from. Hydro finally going down to the storm. He survived for so long and took down Kira as a fact as well as he was walking by. Sky and Snazy though have a higher position. Never seen all three alive like this before. Usually Sky or Snazy are going down first, but they finally made an endgame as a trio. What happens next though, because they're 6 below, that surge damage, the ping is too good on those walls. They won't find anything, but Snazy finds this very, very secure shot. Just absolute miracle of a beam right there to barely keep them above that line. 10 people still need to go down.
Look who's on high ground again. It's Aqua. They're trying to make a last-second surge. 11th place there for them. If they get a lot of elims, they could. Sky gonna go down. Snazy almost gonna go down as well. Nate down very low. Snazy really needs to catch up with 7 builds. There's not really an opportunity. Nate gonna get a siphon effect there. There's barely maybe a flopper coming through. A lot of players going down. Axe will fall. We see Shizo still here. Karma trying to do something. Karma's down. You're right aware. And Karma not able to work together this time. It's up to Zendaya. What can they do? Snazy trying to get in his zone. Nate there as well. Diox will fall. They're on the other side. Snazy gonna go down to zone. Nate, what can you find? Can you get the elim? Yes, he can, but how much more can he grab? Third place out of this game. They could drop all the way out of top 5. Nate is trying to just stay up, trying to get around this mountain. Does he have a launch pad? No. Does he have enough builds? Maybe. He doesn't have a harpoon to break through. 2 builds remaining. Really has to make a play.
He's trying to clutch. Meanwhile, on height, Reason versus Aqua, it's going down to the teeth of it. CRR gonna get affected. Fast Roki finally goes down. Who has it? Who knows? Nate against 2 different people, knocks 1, but Tidy's trio is the one to take him out. They'll climb over Nate, maybe. 19 points puts them at 152 in 5th place for the moment, and Aqua and CRR are the ones to win all the way up top. Tayson still survives. Fast Roki and Reason are the casualties of that fight, and Saba's still alive at 152. He can pass by right now. They got 5 elims to catch up on the board, and now with 154 they push even further. That's huge for them. That should be a top 5 for now, but what else can they do? 156. This might be a Qual POV we're watching, and it's all brought to you by Cabbages inside this end game. Saba finally moving in, goes for one of the shots but doesn't land anything. Has to maybe move around the left side. It's getting tricky in the zone, but it's Tayson that he owns. Absolutely insane from Saba. He's making it work.
We're looking at a qualifying run there. There's no way Malabuku and CRR, they could make a qualifying run as well. It would have taken a lot from Aqua and CRR. Hellfire still in this game as well, still trying to secure again. They're 4th place coming into this game. That's a nice top 3 there, but what can Aqua and CRR do? They need a lot of points. I think it might just be out of grabs, but who knows if they get these eliminations in the Victory Royale, it might be enough. CR has been sent down. Aqua healing up above. Shots go through. Aqua gonna take a lot of damage, but he didn't do enough. Back gonna go down. CRR will fall momentarily. It's gonna be Malabuka, Mustache, and Saizo who secure the Victory Royale again. This time 11 eliminations with 199 points.
They start the day off with a VR. They set the pace. They went a little bit far away and chilled off for a while, but then came back in game 6 and showed you how to wrap up a qualification. What an amazing day for Mustache, Malabuka, and Shizo. It's been an expert level qualification for them, Clay, and just amazing to watch.
It really has, and it's great to see again some of the younger guard coming through and saying, hey, don't take us for granted. Look at us, see that we are playing phenomenal Fortnite and that we can go head to toe with the best of the best. So we know 1st and 2nd is either going to go to Tayson or is either going to go to Malabuku. We don't know exactly what position there. We don't know how many points they ended out, but the real story is who's 3rd, who's 4th, who's 5th, because it's really anybody's position.
Absolutely is. And Clay, phenomenal job on the EU cast, man. Always amazing to hit these games with you, especially when it's this close. Any final words?
I'm excited to be back for, I believe, the semifinals there with you for one more day, because I know EU is going to bring the action.
And we're excited on the desk, and we saw that big pop off as well just a little bit ago. I mean, we really have to toss it straight back. Zeke, Levitt, and Reese, what do we have after that game? Who is in our top 5?
Shy Wager Clay, just want to give a shout out to you specifically, Clay. Thanks so much for hanging out with us here in EU for the day. We'll see you again in semifinals. Shy Wager, you're a king as always. Let's take a look at our top 5. I couldn't wait. We're going to take a second here to talk about some stuff, but I had to know Floki, Clement, the Sensos. This is why Levin talked about them at the top of show. Okay, there was this big question mark. Would they make it in? They didn't qualify at all. They didn't even make round 4 last week. If they hoped to make it into semifinals, they had to perform well. For them, this week, they came in strong. Said, you know what, Zeke? We ain't going to no semifinals. You're going to see us in finals.
I am in awe of not just that team, but Mustache Malibuke and Shiza winning the whole thing when they weren't initially even qualified for round 4. You know, there was some complications. There were some things that happened. We don't need to get into that. But these guys weren't supposed to be here. They were 34th. You know, at the start of the show, you know, we do the explainer, guys, you know, standard stuff. Yeah, the top 33 teams from round. These guys were 34th. They weren't even in the top 33 teams, but they happened to get in. And when they got in, they said, we're taking this chance. How'd you like me now? First place, when they probably shouldn't have even been here, is phenomenal. They will secure a spot in the finals, and well-deserved. They've performed so incredibly well today. They've shown that, you know what, ruthless aggression sometimes is the way, right? And they've done it incredibly well. Like, I'm in awe of them today.
Yeah, they played fantastic. And let's be real now, this sets up something that's going to have to be very interesting in our finals because we know Benji's team, alongside Savage and Dretta's, also qualled inside Steamy Stacks to share a drop spot. We know for a fact that Mustache, Malibuke, and Shizo are not leaving. They will fight that, I mean, till the end of the 12 games, let's be real. So for Benji's team, they have a decision to make at this point. Do they try and get another drop spot before another team qualifies in? What do they want to do? That's going to be a good day to watch.
I don't know, man. I feel like Benji ain't going to leave that spot. But that's a discussion for us later on. Right now, we want to highlight Mustache, Malibuke, and Shizo, 2 victory royales, 45 total eliminations. Eliminations versus the top 10. Levin, this number specifically is absolutely god tier, absolutely out of this world, terrifying number.
No, this is insane. Like this is truly unreal. Like they can't be stopped. You know, they are, you know, in many ways, as Shai said earlier, you know, the same animal but a different beast. They are just phenomenal in that they don't fear, right? I think, you know, it's very easy to come into lobbies like this and maybe not want to go that extra little bit because you respect your opponent. These guys don't have any respect for their opponents. They are confident in their ability, and it shows in the way they play.
It really does, right? Like, you know, that stat about the fact that they kept managing to pick up eliminations on teams in the top 10 just holds up the fact that, I mean, they were just getting eliminations against anyone, let's be real. They could see that they were going for it, but also because they were consistently in the end game, which allowed them to pick up the other teams who were doing well in those games as well, consistently in the top 10 and picking up those ranks over and over. 3 double-digit games, 45 eliminations total, which we do the quick math, 7.5 average, which is very, very high for a qualifier.
Absolutely insane. We got to take a look at the standings and see how things shook out here.
There's a tiebreaker.
We went to a tiebreaker. Absolutely insane. So Levin is crazy though, right? This is yet again another trio you called out, and they took it to the tiebreaker. Is only 2 eliminations separating them. So I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. Now you cast a curse to them. This is your fault, Levin. No, in all seriousness, it's still well fought, right? And coming out 6 is basically like a first when you're looking at the series point leaderboard. So I'm very confident we potentially will be seeing these guys in that top 66 going on to semifinals. But overall, the day was absolutely insane. I just still am so shook by the fact that Mustache and company, we're not even supposed to be here. They barely eked in 33. They're like, okay, we're coming in the bottom of the barrel. We're the last trio, boys. And instead of, and with most players, I feel like, especially for someone like me, I'd be like, I would take that to heart. I'd be like, how am I supposed to come back for them? For them, they're like, no, we're just going to win the day. How about we just come out number 1 seed? Like, what?
I can't pick them up anymore. I don't think, you know, like, they really are just monsters, right? In a good way, right? Where they've just come through and just absolutely dominated everybody. It's brilliant. More points, I believe, than Queasy's trio was able to get last week. I think the top 3 all had more points than what first place was able to accrue last week. So all-round dominance from a lot of these guys.
100%. And Aware Karma and Kylie actually just tagged me on Twitter saying, I hate you, Resub, because you predicted me coming 8th and we came 8th. So, but they picked up the victory on game number 2. Honestly, they played insane today, though. Just a couple of games they missed out on. I'm sure that they're going to do super well in the semifinals as well.
Yeah, and look, I don't want to get too ahead of myself. I literally can't. It's in like 2 days. But the semi-finals is coming. And I think for some of these teams who maybe were so close to getting the top 5 or maybe played good in some games and did in others, you know, with the way the semi-finals format is this season around, like, there's no guarantees you're making it through to the finals. There isn't. There's absolutely no guarantees. And so it will be heartbreaking if some of these teams who just came so close aren't able to.
Yeah, like I said, like Snazy's team, for example, going on the tiebreaker, you know, absolutely gut-wrenching. Every single week we seem to be seeing on every single region tiebreakers that are just missing out in the qualification. And that second qualification it's rough, right? You know, it's rough for the lot of the teams to miss out there. But let's be real, so far for, you know, the Heats has plenty of opportunities. Well, the semifinals overall has a lot of opportunities for teams to make it as a qual. So, you know, they've got their time.
I can't get over it, Reese, man. I'm fuming. two eliminations, man. Should I just not have said anything? Did I really think so? Like, should I just shut up? Like, well, maybe I should have, Zeke, because I'm looking at myself now and I feel bad, you know. Like, well, you know, I feel defeated. Like, I can't even say anything. I feel that. Oh, man, I just, you know what? Semi-finals will go my way, prediction-wise. Well, to be fair, I did, you know, but anyway, the prediction I made on Tayson, they were able to do it. And I'm fuming now, right? Because you look at Tayson's team, and of course they did brilliantly and they qualified this week. They were the ones that didn't make it on tiebreaker last week, right? So maybe if, you know, Snazy's trio had another week of qualifiers, they would do what Tayson did and qualify the top 5 then. But unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. Aqua CR for Strokey, this was a team who I think a lot of people would have hoped would have maybe done a bit better on the day. I think every single game I saw them in some sort of a battle for height, it felt like, right?
Classic,
like
right?
Every time I looked, the classic, but you know, we saw it, we knew it was going to happen. Every single game, it felt like it was different teams fighting for hype, but there was always the one that was consistent, and it was them, as you do with any Aqua-led team. What a day it's been, man. What a day.
And obviously, like, Moustache there, you know, although that was looking at Aqua, obviously that wasn't them that picked up the win. That was Moustache's team that ended up winning there with a little Victory Royale sandwich on the all day. The first game and the final game, just wrapping up with a nice little bow.
Just reminding us, hey, you know what, guys? Let's not even forget about the 33rd place. Don't worry about that. We're a contender, okay? You need to be mindful of us and what we're doing. Fortnite fam, that wraps up the competition here from EU in qualifier number 2. Now, don't forget, we still have way more Fortnite action. NA East, NA West. Reese and I are going to jump over to NA East. We also have Thursday starting semi-finals. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Fortnite across 4 days. I don't know how I will survive, but it will be from action like this. So make sure you do not miss out. As always, please give these two incredible humans a follow. Give Shy a Wager a follow, and Clay, who came in and subbed in for EU. It was great to have you back, Clay. And of course, we'll have him one last time before we reach finals. So until next time, Fortnite fam, we love you, and we'll see you on that battle bus.